Είναι live τώρα στο Facebook.
Εντάξει.
Οπότε είναι και 8 η ώρα, 8 και 1.
Πείτε μου πότε θα αρχίσουμε. Good evening to everybody. Welcome to this class today about Vipassana, insight meditation. So as usually, we start presenting a PowerPoint presentation for a visual understanding also of the matter we're going to, on the topic we're going to explain. So therefore, and it is useful for many people to see this also in a visual form and remember what the steps are to be followed. So therefore, those who have already seen this PowerPoint presentation, so they can just skip it if they like, and they can join 1 hour later. That is the time when we're starting practicing. Before practice, of course, I will explain briefly how we can practice this Vipassana. Now, this PowerPoint presentation includes more details and some references to the sutta, which is Satipatthana Sutta, for those who have to have confidence that this information does not come from anywhere else. It comes from the Buddha's teaching in the Satipatthana Sutta. So then they can understand the structure of this method of Vipassana as it is present in Satipatthana Sutta. Those who have already seen the video, of course, as I told you, the presentation, they can just skip it and join 1 hour later. So it is up to you. So we're going to explain about this method, which the Buddha taught in Satipatthana Sutta. So then we must know that insight meditation was first taught by the historical Gautama Buddha more than 2,500 years ago, and it is unique in its kind. In fact, it was through insight meditation that he himself achieved enlightenment and became a Buddha. Insight meditation exists today in its original form in Theravada Buddhism, which retained the Buddha's original teachings. The word used by the Buddha for this meditation is Vipassana, which means specialized, expanded, and vision seeing. That means expanded vision, expanded seeing, or specialized seeing. So this seeing, which is called Passana, exposes the truth of the impermanency, the suffering, and the impersonal and unsubstantial nature of all material and mental phenomena of existence. And indeed, Vipassana does not use the usual ways of meditation, but the systematic and methodical observation of material and mental phenomena for the penetration in the actual nature, impermanence, suffering, and not self. So this is called in Pali, anicca, dukkha, anatta. It includes exercise in mindfulness and awareness. In Pali, this is called sati sampajanya, that are used to observe and understand the impermanent, unstable, transient nature of all mental and material phenomena, the attachment to which creates our suffering. The main principle in Vipassana meditation is observation of rise and fall of every material and mental phenomenon. So therefore now meditator has to observe the rise and fall of every object he encounters within his own experience. So Vipassana observation is essentially to observe the rise and fall of every observed phenomenon, which indicates how the observation is to be developed to deepen understanding of the nature of mental and material phenomena under investigation. So this whole information about Vipassana, it is stated, it is expounded in the discourse of on the four application of mindfulness, which the Buddha has taught. So the Pali name is Satipatthana Sutta. Sometimes the applications are sometimes translated foundations. So then in this case, we translate application because you have to apply something. You have to apply mindfulness, your attention, your awareness in order to observe this phenomenon. So we have put here the word applications. So then, and the Buddha called this kind of this practice in Satipatthana Sutta, which is the Vipassana path. He called it the direct path to Nibbana. It is called Ekaya no Mago. Satipatthana Sutta is one of the most important and widely studied and practiced discourses of the Buddha, acting as a foundation for mindfulness meditation practice, with particular emphasis on the development of insight meditation, Vipassana. It is called the heart of Buddhist meditation. It contains the most comprehensive explanation of the immediate and straightforward way to achieve the Buddhist goal, Nibbana, or in Sanskrit, what we call Nirvana. It is, as the Buddha calls it, the direct path to the realization of Nibbana. It lays down a complete system in order to train the mind to see with tiny precision the real nature of the body, the feelings, the thoughts, and the mental and material phenomena, and overcome the attachment to them. The Buddha begins this discourse with a statement: this is the direct path for the purification of beings, for the surmounting of sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of pain and grief, for the attainment of the true way, for the realization of Nibbana, namely the four applications of mindfulness. Why did the Buddha call this the direct path? It is to distinguish it from other meditations, such as the 10 Kasina meditations, the 4 Brahma Viharas, the 6 recollections, Buddhanusati, etc., or any other meditations except Vipassana. This meditation, other meditation, can lead to Nibbana, but not directly, and can lead to sidetracks. For example, all the other meditations who belong to the Samatha part, do not include Vipassana. So they just reach a certain point, a certain degree of concentration, and that is why they stagnate. So in order to proceed further, one has to practice Vipassana in order to realize Nibbana. So, however, Satipatthana leads directly to the final goal, Nibbana. So therefore, the purpose of the 4 applications of mindfulness is the purification of beings from defilements and so forth. That's why the Buddha tells this direct path for from the purification of beings from defilements. As the Buddha says, for a long time, this mind has been defiled by lust, hatred, and delusion. Through the defilements of the mind, beings are defiled. With the cleansing of the mind, beings are purified. So therefore now this path leads for the purification of the mind also. Otherwise, one is not able to see Nibbana. So now we're going to explain now the 4 applications of mindfulness. The Buddha expounds in the sutta, and he mentions there are 4 in the number. The first is observation of the body. It is we apply mindfulness to observe the body. This is called Kaya Anupassana. Observation of the feelings. That means we apply mindfulness to observe the feelings. Vedana Anupassana. And then observation of thoughts. We have applied mindfulness to observe our thoughts. This is called Chitta Anupassana. And then observation of mental and material phenomena. This is called Dhamma Anupassana. So therefore now, regarding all these observations, we have to observe the body, the feelings, the thoughts, and mental and material phenomena. And this observation should be done with mindfulness and awareness. So therefore now we have here observation on the body, the feelings, thoughts, and mental and material phenomena. But it is not only this part. The Buddha is going to explain how we have to see the rise and fall of these phenomena. Because all the phenomena are permanent. These are the phenomena we are cling to, we identify with, and due to this we suffer. So therefore we have to start to observe what is more obvious to your experience. If you, for example, bodily as called processes are more prominent, let's see the breath, you can take that as an object of observation and be mindful and aware of that. If feelings are more prominent, you can take the feelings as object of observation. If thoughts are more prominent, you can take the thoughts as object of observation. Or if mental and material phenomena are more prominent, you can take them as an object of observation. So then now regarding the body, the Buddha is going to explain now how to observe the body. There are many aspects how to do so. So therefore now the Buddha starts first, what is the most gross thing we have within us. Now mind and feelings are very subtle. So, and many people maybe have difficulty to observe them, but the body is something gross. That's why the Buddha starts with to explain something from what is more gross. And slowly is going to explain more subtle things which happen within us, like our feelings, our thoughts, and so forth. Hence, he starts this his explanation first with the body, which is something gross. Many people can understand it better. So, and he says how to observe the body, how to do so. Here, one abides observing the body as a body. Ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. So therefore, this observation, what the Buddha says, it is for one who is ardent. Means he is not sleepy, he is not lethargic. So then one must be therefore ardent, energetic to do so. Otherwise, his observation is not going to succeed. And another thing is to be fully aware. So not to be absent-minded. And mindful also means almost the same. So not to be absent-minded. So in order to make this observation. In this way, one is able to succeed to observe a phenomenon and which he has to examine. So now regarding the body, the Buddha is going to explain how the most, what is the most prominent things in our body, which a meditator can start observing. And the most prominent thing, of course, is the breath. So that's why he speaks about the breath, how to observe the breath in our body, because all the time our body expands and contracts. So due to the inhaling and exhaling of the breath, and somehow it is easy for a meditator to take this movement as a part of his observation and see, examine the body, contemplate the body. So now this mindfulness of breathing, the Buddha has taught as serenity meditation sometimes. So, and in all the Satipatthana Sutta, I can actually practice a serenity meditation. But he also taught it as insight meditation, Vipassana. And in this part, it is the insight meditation which he emphasizes, how to see and how to observe the body through the Vipassana eye, through the Vipassana practice. Now, in our body, we all the time inhale and exhale. We take in breath. And if you take in breath, for example, in order to observe the body, you have mentally note in breath. So in that case, you know what you're observing. So, and for out breath, you mentally note out breath. So this is how the observation has to be done. And so then in breath, you mentally note in breath, and out breath, as called you mentally note out breath. This can be, this in breath and out breath, if you sense it in the tip of the nose, you can observe it in the tip of the nose. If you sense it on the chest or on the belly, you can actually start from these places where it's more prominent and evident for you. So then, although the Buddha explained to be mindful about the body, so now he is going to explain how to practice Vipassana. That is the part which is the central teaching in this Satipatthana Sutta. So therefore now he is going to explain the Vipassana part. So as well already mentioned, the main principle in Vipassana meditation is observation of rise and fall of every material and mental phenomenon. So therefore, this is somehow the meditator has to see the rise and fall of this phenomenon. This is not that the meditator creates this rise and fall, but if one observes this phenomena, they don't last for long. They start and then they continue for some time and they fall. This is to see the impermanent nature of this phenomenon. So therefore, the Buddha says, one abides observing in the body its nature of rising, or its nature of falling, or its nature of both rising and falling. Here it is how to, the Buddha emphasizes this part, how to see the rise and fall. So, and he is going to repeat this for every object. So then that's why this is the fundamental principle in Satipatthana Sutta, because this rise and fall, he is going to repeat for every object. Although the object change, they are different. That's why I've mentioned the body is different, the feeling is different, the thoughts are different and so forth, but they have a common characteristic, a universal characteristic of this rise and fall. Therefore, the Buddha is going to repeat this rise and fall again and again in this Satipatthana Sutta. Now, for those who know Pali, they can have the reference in Pali and so forth. Now here, Samudaya Dhamma means the first part. Samudaya Dhamma means, Samudaya means rise, Dhamma means the nature of this what you observe. Anupasi is the observant, what he who observes. Kaya is the body, and Viharati means one abides. Again here, Vaya means fall, Dhamma means the nature, Anupasi means observing, Kaya means the body and abides. Samudaya Vaya means rise and fall, to see, as called both, rise and fall. Therefore the meditator, if he can see the rise, he can see the rise. If he can see the fall, he can see the fall, or he also can see both, the rise and fall. So in this way now, the observation with mindfulness and awareness has two parts. So the first part is what? Knowing the object of observation. The second part is Vipassana, seeing its nature of rise and fall. In this case, what is the object of observation is the body. So, and then what the meditator has to see? The rise and fall of the body. For example, in the breath, so the meditator can see how the breath rises and falls. Here we are going to explain again. Now for the in-breath, there is expansion. This is the rise of the body. For the out-breath, so there is contraction. This is the fall. Therefore, our body all the time rises and falls due to this expansion and contraction. And this happens because we breathe in air and expel out breath, the air. So, and this happens moment by moment. From the time we have been born till we are going to die, this is going to happen. This body rises and falls. So we just try to see the nature of this body, how all the time the body inhales and exhales. and observe the rise and fall. And this rise and fall occurs continuously. So every moment, and it is continuous rise and fall. So the meditator can observe this again and again to see the nature, the impermanent nature of this body, how this body all the time changes. So then, therefore now, for the in-breath, you mentally note in-breath. If you observe this is the first step, what the meditator has to do. What is the object? In-breath. Therefore, you mentally note in-breath. So, and then go to the Vipassana part, second part, which you have to see the rise. In-breath is the rise. For the out-breath, you mentally note out-breath, and then go to see the fall, which is the expulsion of the body. So therefore now we have mentally note 2 times. In-breath, you can mention, mentally note 2-3 times, in-breath, and so forth. So, and see the rise. So for the out-breath, you mentally note out-breath, and then again mentally note fall. So this observation can be done in the tip of the nose. So if you feel the tip of the nose, the in-breath, so you mentally note in-breath, and then you mentally note also rise. So for the out-breath, you mentally note out-breath, and also mentally note fall. So this is how you can practice this. Of course, now in the beginning, you can train yourself just to see in-breath, out-breath, and slowly starting seeing the rise and fall of the in-breath and out-breath. So you can see this in the tip of the nose or in any other part of the body, on the chest or on the belly. So then for the in-breath again, you can see, here you can see in this way the in-breath as rise, the out-breath as fall. But you can see that for the in-breath, there is rise and fall. Actually, the in-breath, when it starts, this is the rise. When it stops, it's the fall. Therefore, in the in-breath itself, there is rise and fall, if you want to see more details. So again, for the out-breath, also there is rise and fall. If the out-breath goes out of your body, it starts going out. When it stops going out, this is the fall. Therefore, now you can see it in the gross way. The in-breath is rise, the out-breath is fall, or the in-breath itself is rise and fall, and the out-breath is rise and fall. And you have to mentally note in-breath, rise and fall, out-breath, rise and fall. So then now this kind of rise and fall, one can observe not only in the breath, but in many other movements of the body. So here, for example, if we walk, you can see how we lift our leg and move it in forward and then place it on the ground. So then if we see, we mentally note the whole movement, but at the same time also we have to see that the Vipassana part, which is to see the rise and fall of the whole movement. So therefore now it is not only telling, lifting, moving, placing, but to see also the rise fall. If we see the rise and fall and give emphasis on the rise and fall, then we also practice Vipassana meditation. So this movement of the leg can be seen in more details. If you want to see more details, that you can see even small movements, there is a rise and fall. So if you lift the heel up and you lift it up and then move your leg forward and lower it down and you touch it and place it. So all the small movement has a small rise and falls. So then therefore even slight movements, there is called this process of rise and fall is there. So therefore now one can see also how this movement rises and falls from moment to moment. So other ways to observe the body, what the Buddha says, is regarding the postures, the position of the body, if we sit, or if we stand, or if we walk, or if we lie down. So you can see our body all the time changes. From the time you get up from the bed, we walk, we have to stand, we have to sit. So our body can't stand in one position for a long time. It has to change. Now, this changing position, one can observe them, how they also rise and fall. So, for example, in sitting position, one can see that when one starts sitting, that is what's called the rise. When one stops, what's called one gets up, that is actually the fall. Therefore, every rise, what's called sitting, has a kind of end. That is the fall of it. So our body can't stay for a long time. There is a kind of duration how our body can stand like that, sit like that. So then you can see there is a rise and fall of the whole movement of the sitting. Standing the same, if we stand, for example, there is a certain limit. So there is what's called a start, that is a rise, and when we stop standing, that is a fall. So therefore, our body has a certain limit how much it can endure to stand like that. There is a rise and fall. If we walk the same, there is a limit how much we can do so. There is a so then if we stop and so forth walking, that is a fall. Therefore, in walking also, you can see a rise and fall of the movement of the walking. Even every step we do, one can observe the rise and fall of every step. So the same way with lying down, there is a limit how much one can stay in this posture. So there is a beginning, but there is also an end. In this way, one can observe that this body also rises and falls. The rise and fall of the movement of the body. So the Buddha describes many other aspects how you can observe our body, the movements of the body. So, but also in other aspects. For example, the elements which we have in our body, for example, solidity, which exists in our body, this also changes. So, and then the liquid element which is in our body, this also changes. The heat element which is in our body, and the wind element which is on our body. So then one can observe the rise and fall also from this aspect, to see all these elements which exist in our body all the time rise and fall. So in this way now, if one observe all this, the body from different perspectives, the Buddha says that actually there is mindfulness, that there is the body, is simply established in oneself. The meditator can understand there is the body, to the extent necessary for bare knowledge and strong mindfulness. What is the meaning? There is the body. The meaning is, there is only the body or a bodily process, not a being, not a person, not a woman, not a man, not the self, not what belongs to oneself, not I, not mine, not somebody, not what belongs to somebody. Here it is actually when the meditator starting not identifying oneself with his body, because one see only bodily processes which rise and fall every time, the impermanent nature of this phenomenon. There is nobody there, just bodily processes. And this is for the sake of a wider and wider and higher measure of knowledge and mindfulness. This is called yatha bhuta jnana, knowledge of the phenomena as they really are, and not as we imagine them to be. And then the Buddha proceeds and says, and one abides independent, not clinging to anything in the world. This is the Pali text for those who want to read the Pali. Now, what is the meaning of this? The meaning is independent means not dependent on craving and speculations regarding this body or wrong views about this body. Not clinging to anything in the world, one does not cling to anybody that this is myself or what belongs to myself. So therefore now, by seeing in a very objective way, to observe the body in a very objective way, one understands the impermanent nature of this body, that there is not a single moment we can tell this is myself, because in that moment, that moment past, has already risen and fallen. So another way how to observe our existence means our experience regarding other phenomena. It is the observation of the feelings. Feelings are very common, which phenomena which occur within our processes, mental processes and so forth. So, and for some people become easy to observe. So they can actually, instead of feeling the breath, they can feel sensations in the body. For that, in that case, they can start observing the feelings, if that is what is more prominent for them. So that's why the Buddha also suggests to observe the feelings if for somebody the feelings are more prominent. So in order to do so, he tells how to start observing the feelings. He says again, one abides observing feelings as feelings, ardent, fully aware, and mindful. So therefore now, these are the prerequisites in order to start. Ardent means one is not lethargic, fully aware, one knows the object one observes, and mindful, one does not forget what one observes. So therefore, the observation of the feelings, the Buddha speaks how there are different feelings which arise in our mind and body. So there is a pleasant feeling, there is unpleasant or painful feeling, there is also neutral feeling. There are also other feelings which are connected with material stimuli and feelings which are connected with immaterial or spiritual meditative stimuli. So therefore now, whatever is more prominent, one can start with this feeling and observe it. So even if that feeling changes, one can actually change from unpleasant becomes pleasant. One can observe how these feelings operate and start observing them. So therefore the Buddha says how to start doing so. While feeling a pleasant feeling, one understands, I feel a pleasant feeling. That is understanding. So when feeling a painful feeling, one understands, I feel a painful feeling. Again, when feeling a neither painful nor pleasant feeling, one understands, I feel a neither painful nor pleasant feeling. That is to understand it. First, to be aware, to be mindful, what is the prominent feeling which one feels. That is the first step. But the Buddha does not stop there. It's not only mindfulness. We have to proceed and see something more. To proceed and see these feelings with the insight meditation, with insight eye. And then that's why the Buddha says, one abides observing in feelings, the nature of rising or the nature of falling or the nature of both rising and falling. Therefore, here again, he mentions the Vipassana part, which is rise and fall. So in this way, you can see that the observation with mindfulness awareness has two parts. First part, it is knowing the object, understanding the object, become mindful of the object. The second part is Vipassana, seeing as nature of rise and fall. In this case, what is the knowing the object of observation is the feelings. So that is to be aware of it, to be mindful of that. So, and what is the second part, the meditator should see is the rise and fall of this feeling. So, in this way now, the meditator does not know only the feeling, but should know also what is its nature, to observe the rise and fall of it. So, therefore, the Buddha says, here one knows feelings as they arise. Yes. So now regarding feelings, what I want to say, it is that some of these feelings, they persist sometimes. They last longer than we expect. So there is a kind of all feelings do not disappear immediately as soon as they arise. They don't fall immediately as soon as they rise, but they stay for some time. That's called, they endure some time. That's why the Buddha says in another discourse that if the feelings are called endure, they stay for some time, one should observe this phase also. In this way, he says, he knows feelings as they arise, as they stay also. Because the time the feelings stay, one should also mentally not staying. Because some of those feelings do not go immediately. One should observe it and tell them staying. And as one should know also as it disappears. So according to this sutta, therefore, now one can actually see that not only the rise, but the staying of the feeling. So then, because some of these feelings, they stay for some period of time. Now the breath, for example, we can see that all the time there is a rhythm, rise and fall, rise and fall, rise and fall. But in the feelings, they rise, stay for some period of time, and then only therefore, there is a time duration. Now this time duration, so the meditator can mentally note staying till he can see later that how this feeling falls. In this way now, regarding the observation of the feelings, if there is a pleasant feeling, you mentally note pleasant feeling. That is the first step. But then go and see the rise and fall, staying and fall of it. And mentally note rise when you can see the rise of the feeling, staying when you can see the staying of the feeling, and fall when you can see the fall of the feeling. So if, for example, if there is a, then again, if there is an unpleasant feeling, you mentally note unpleasant feeling, that is the first step. Then go to the next step to see the rise and fall, staying and fall of it. A mental note, rise, staying and fall. So if the feeling persists, so you just continue telling staying, and then when you see the fall, you mentally not fall. So again, if there is a neutral feeling, you mentally note neutral feeling, and then you can see the rise, staying and fall of this neutral feeling. So therefore now we have here three phases the meditator can observe, especially with this feeling which persists, they last longer than one expects. One should repeat the word staying till one can see the fall of it. So therefore now, and by observing this, the meditator has called understand that there is only the feeling. Therefore the Buddha says, mindfulness that there is the feeling is simply established in oneself to the extent necessary for bare knowledge and strong mindfulness. What means there is the feeling? The meaning is there is only the feeling or a feeling process, not the being, not a person, not a woman, not a man, not the self, not what belongs to a self, not I, not mine, not somebody, not what belongs to somebody. So this is for the sake of a wider and higher measure of knowledge and mindfulness. This again is called yatha bhuta jnana, knowledge of the phenomena as they really are and not as we imagine them to be. And then again the Buddha says, and one abides independent, not clinging to anything in the world. So the meaning is independent, not depending on craving regarding this feeling, or not depending on speculations or wrong views regarding these feelings. Not clinging to anything in the world means in the world one does not cling to any feeling that this is myself or what belongs to myself. He just see these processes going in a natural order. So it does not identify oneself with this feeling. So another way how to observe our existence, it is to observe it with the thoughts. So some people actually can, because they have many thoughts, they can do so with this observation of thoughts. That is another satipatthana, means application of mindfulness. If thoughts are prominent, sometimes people have many thoughts. There are many worries, sometimes of anger, desire, delusion. So I can go and observe the thoughts. That is because that is also part of our mentality, of our mental processes. So, and those who have all the time many thoughts coming in the mind, they can't observe feelings, they can't observe the breath. So if the thoughts are more prominent, they can go ahead and observe the thoughts. And then the Buddha shows the way how to do so. So he says, one abides observing the thoughts as thoughts, ardent, fully aware, and mindful. Here again, one should be ardent, fully aware, and mindful. If one is lethargic, one can't do so. If one is not aware, one can't do so. If one is forgetful, one can't do so. So therefore, these are the prerequisites to start observing these feelings, these thoughts. So therefore, he says how to do so. He divides the thoughts in different categories. So then, because there are different thoughts which arise within our continuum, so he tries to specify what are the most usually thoughts who come in our mind. So he says, one understands a thought with lust or desire as a thought with lust or desire. So therefore, if desire is within you, so try to understand it, try to be aware of it, and to recognize it. So, and understand as thought with desire. So then again, one understands a thought without lust or desire as a thought without lust or desire. So therefore, if we have some certain desire, if that desire goes away, then another thought comes, which is without desire. So by observing this desire, not desire, one understands that whenever there is desire within us, there is tension. But if that desire goes, so there is some relaxation, some peaceful feeling. So that is one, understand the contrast between the two, the difference between two. So again, another common thought which comes in our mind is anger. So therefore the Buddha says, one understands a thought with hate or anger as a thought with hate or anger. So, but if that anger goes away, then the Buddha says, one understands a thought without hate or anger as a thought without hate or anger. So the difference between anger and no anger is, if there is anger within us, there is tension. So if that anger goes away, this tension goes away, there is relaxation and peace in our mind. So in this way, one can understand the contrast, the difference between the two states of mind. So another common thought which arises in our mind is delusion. So then, therefore, the Buddha says, one understands a thought with delusion as a thought with delusion. Now, delusion means here lack of knowledge, especially, for example, if or you can tell it confusion in our mind. Especially if a person, he does not know what to do. For example, he's in doubt, he's wondering, shall I do it like that? Shall I do like that? He has lack of knowledge. That's why his mind is in a diluted state, to tell like that, in a confused state. So he's like in the crossroad, he does not know which direction to go. Left, right, forward, backwards. So that is the mind when is lacking knowledge. That's why the mind is diluted. Other ways how our mind is also diluted, it is when it is worrying too much, a lot of worries, or it imagines things, fantasizing things, or daydreaming. So these are the states of mind when the mind has no direction and is diluted. It's confused thoughts who come and go without any direction. And so all these thoughts are called a thought with delusion. So if one understands that, if that thought is prominent, one can understand it and mentally note it. And then he says also about no delusion, one understands a thought without delusion as a thought without delusion. So if that thought with delusion goes away, then there's another thought without delusion. And if one contrasts between the both, so one can see that when there is delusion on us, there is tension. So, but if that delusion goes away, that tension also goes away. So that is, and some peace arises in the mind. So now this is the part to be first aware of it. And here it starts the insight part, which the Buddha does not tell to be only mindful of these events which occurs in our mind, of our thoughts, but to see them from the perspective of Vipassana, insight meditation. So, and that's why he says, one abides observing the thoughts, the nature of rising, or the nature of falling, or the nature of both rising and falling. Here again, he repeats the same thing of rise and fall regarding the thoughts. Hence, we can see that the observation with mindfulness awareness has two parts. The first part is what? To know the object of observation. The second part is the Vipassana, seeing its nature of rise and fall. In this case, the object of observation is what? It is the thoughts. And the Vipassana part is to see the rise and fall of the thoughts. So then, therefore, regarding the observation of thoughts, if you can't know exactly what a particular thought is, you may grossly understand it as thought or thoughts. So now some meditators, they can analyze the thoughts. Is it desire, it is anger, it is this or that. So therefore now they can start observing the thoughts grossly and mentally note thought or thoughts. You can put in singular or plural if you can understand what kind of thought this is. Now the mind is very busy thinking of something. One can't concentrate on the breath, can't concentrate on the feelings, but the thoughts are more prominent. So then in this case, one can mentally note thought or thoughts if one can't analyze what kind of thought this is. So, and that is the first part. And the second part is to see the rise, staying, and fall of this thought. So in mental note, rise, staying, and fall. Staying because some thoughts, they don't go immediately. There is some time till they go. Therefore, one can see that a mental note staying till these thoughts are called stay. When they stop staying, they fall, they can mentally not fall. So therefore now there are three phases which the meditator can understand: rise, staying, and fall, depending on how these thoughts behave. So now if one wants deeper and wants to see what kind of thoughts these are, one can analyze them and observe. If there is a thought with lust or desire, one can mentally note lust with desire, thought with lust and desire, and then see also the rise, staying, and fall of it. And mental note rise, staying, and fall as called as you actually can see happening. And then if there is thought without lust or desire, you can mentally note thought without lust or desire. And then go and see the rise, staying, and fall of it by and mental note rise, staying, and fall. So if there is a thought with anger, you can mentally note thought with anger. So and then go and see the rise, staying, and fall of this anger, and mentally note rise, staying, and fall. So if there is thought without anger, you mentally note thought without anger, and you can see the rise, staying, and fall of it, and mentally note rise, staying, and fall. So if there is thought with delusion, you mentally note thought with delusion, and go and see the rise, staying, and fall of it by mentally noting rise, staying, and fall. So if there is thought without delusion, you mentally note thought without delusion, and you mentally see the rise, staying, and fall of it by mentally noting rise, staying, and fall. So this is actually, now these thoughts may be different. Okay, they may differ from each other, but the fundamental principle here is what? So that does not change. They all have the same nature: to rise, stay for some times, and fall. So therefore, although the thoughts are different, one does not get lost because one sees the same principle everywhere: this rise, staying, and fall. So then, and then the Buddha says, if one continues like that, mindfulness that there is the thought is simply established in oneself to the extent necessary for bare knowledge and strong mindfulness. So what is the meaning? There is the thought. So then the meaning is there is only the thought or the thought process. So not a being, not a person, not a woman, not a man, not a self, not what belongs to a self, not I, not mind, not somebody, not what belongs to somebody. For the sake of a wider and wider and higher measure of knowledge and mindfulness, again, this is called Yata Bhuta Jnana, knowledge of the phenomena as they really are and not as we imagine them to be. So hence the Buddha says, and on abides independent, not clinging to anything in the world. So the meaning is independent, not dependent on craving regarding thoughts and speculations regarding thoughts or wrong views regarding thoughts. Not clinging to anything in the world means in the world one does not cling to any thought that this is myself or what belongs to myself. The reason is that as soon as we see these thoughts, they just rise and fall all the time. They are impermanent. There is nothing there who can pinpoint this is myself or what belongs to myself. So this is one aspect how to observe the thoughts for those who have prominent thoughts coming in the mind. And another way the Buddha says how to observe our existence is with his observation of mental and material phenomena. So then this is he explains in different ways how we can see other phenomena occurring in our existence. So in our continuum. So then I will give only some examples because we can't exhaust all these explanations. So then, especially for beginners, it will be difficult to remember all these things. I will limit myself only a certain explanation what the Buddha gave regarding how to observe mental and material phenomena. So then, now, and again, the Buddha starts first to explain grossly how to do so. And he says, one abides observing mental and material phenomena as mental and material phenomena, ardent, fully aware and mindful, having put away covetousness and grief for the world. Here again, the meditator should be ardent, fully aware and mindful in order to start observing them. So I will give examples which are in the suttas, how to observe certain very prominent phenomena we encounter every day. Now, for example, we have sense organs like the eye, and we encounter so many sense objects, like for example here, visual objects with the eye. So because these visual objects we encounter, there are feelings coming. If we see something beautiful, so we feel good. If we see something ugly, we feel bad. Therefore, our feelings depend on these visual objects we encounter in everyday life. So in that case now, if this visual object more prominent, the meditator can see visual objects. These are what attracts his attention. He can observe this visual object. So take this visual object as called as contemplation and observation, and be aware of them. So that is one part. Of course, the second part is to see how this visual object also they rise and fall. So then again, through the ear, we have sounds, and we know how sounds influence our experience. So if we hear pleasant sounds, we have pleasant feelings and good thoughts. So, but if we hear very unpleasant sounds, we have unpleasant feelings and also some very angry thoughts or sometimes. So in this way now sounds play a big role for our mental makeup. How we feel, how we think, sounds play a role for that. And the meditator can take sounds as an object if these sounds are prominent. While meditating, for example, you can, if there are certain sounds from outside, you can take them as an object and observe them, how also they rise and fall. So then if these are prominent, so then again with visual object, if one closes on one's eye, one can see some pictures in front of one face or some images, mental images and so forth. These become more prominent. One can take them as an object and see how they also rise and staying fall. So again, with the nose, there is also smells, and smells play a big role for our feelings and thoughts. So if they are pleasant smells, we can feel also happy. If they are unpleasant smells, we feel unhappy. So therefore, our happiness and unhappiness depends on the smells also, how we perceive them. So then if they are smells have become prominent, the meditator can take the smells as an object of observation and see how also they have the same nature, the impermanent nature of rise and fall. So if now we have the tongue also and tests. Because of test, we have certain feelings. If the tests are pleasant, we are happy. If they are unpleasant, we are unhappy. Therefore, our happiness, unhappiness depends on the test we put in our mouth and taste them with our tongue. So therefore now, and one can observe if these tests are prominent while we are eating, for example, we taste something. So then one can observe this test, how it rises, stays for some times, and also falls. So even these states have this permanent, impermanent nature. So another thing is with our body, so we can touch tangibles, and these tangibles, if they are pleasant, we're happy. If they are unpleasant, we're unhappy. So for these happy feelings, unhappy feelings, so depend many times on the tangibles object we touch. Our happiness, therefore, it is fragile. It can change anytime regarding this object we touch. So therefore now, it's called, one can observe these tangibles, how it's called, these tangibles also have a transcend nature by seeing the rise and fall of the feelings which arise through these tangibles, or the tangibles in themselves, how also are impermanent. So then we have the mind, also ideas. So we cling in our ideas. If our ideas are more prominent, so then one can take the ideas as an object and observe the ideas, how also they rise, stay, and fall. So then this is how to be aware of this object if they are prominent, of course. Some people are very skillful to observe these sense objects, as called, because their attention is all the time outside. So if you tell them to observe the thoughts, they have difficulty. If you observe the feelings, they have difficulty. If you tell them to observe the breath, it's difficult. But if you tell them to observe object, this kind of sense object, they find it easy. So therefore now, for those who find it easy, they can observe this object. But even other meditators, in due time also, sometimes occasionally, so they can find this object to be more prominent. While you're meditating, if a sound is around and the mind is wandering, can't stay with the breath, can't stay with the thoughts, can't stay with feelings. So you can take the sound and see, mentally note sound, and then you can see its permanent nature, how these sounds also rise, stays for some time and falls. So, and depending on the situation, one can actually switch from one object to another, depending on what is more prominent. Now, explaining this sense object now, or sense organs, we can see all the sense organs also have the same nature of rise and fall. But for the time being, we limit us to explain this, especially with the sense object. So then that is the first time to be aware of it, understand, as called, be mindful of a sense object, if that is prominent. And now the Buddha is going to explain the insight meditation, that is this part. So Vipassana part. And he says, one abides observing in the mental and material phenomena the nature of rising, or the nature of falling, or the nature of both rising and falling. Here again, one should see the rise and fall of these objects. So therefore now, this observation with mindfulness and awareness has two parts. The first part is knowing the object of observation. The second part is Vipassana, seeing its nature of rise and fall. In this case, the object of observation is mental and material phenomena. So to know them, to be aware of them, to be mindful of them, and then go and see the second part of them, that is rise and fall. So then in this way, the Buddha says, mindfulness that there are mental and material phenomena is simply established in oneself. So to the extent necessary for bare knowledge and strong mindfulness. What does he mean? Why he tells there are mental that there are mental and material phenomena. The meaning is there are only mental and material phenomena, not a being, not a person. So not a woman, not a man, not a self, not what belongs to a self, not I, not mine, not somebody, not what belongs to somebody. For the sake of a wide and higher measure of knowledge and mindfulness, this again is called Yatha Bhuta Jnana, knowledge of the phenomena as they really are and not as we imagine them to be. And then the Buddha says, and on abides independent, not clinging to anything in the world. So the meaning is independent, not depending on craving regarding this mental and material phenomena, and speculations regarding this mental and material phenomena, and wrong views regarding this mental and material phenomena. So then not clinging to anything in the world, it means in the world one does not cling to any mental and material phenomena that these are myself or what belongs to myself. This is the meaning that one does not identify oneself with this mental and material phenomena. So now this is the 4 satipatthana, the 4 application of mindfulness, as we're told about the body, the feelings, the thoughts, and mental and material phenomena. So all through this object differ. Now we have the body is one object. Feelings are different. Thoughts are different. Mental material phenomena is different area. But they have something in common. And this is because the common thing is that they have, it's called this nature of rise and fall. So because of this rise and fall, this is the meditator can get Vipassana samadhi, concentration by insight meditation. So Buddha mentions about this concentration by this insight meditation. So, and he explains how this meditation develops. He says, and what is the development of concentration, samadhi bhavana, that leads to mindfulness and awareness, sati sampajanya. So here he says, one knows feelings as they arise, as they stay, and as they disappear. So therefore he says this concentration arises by seeing the rise, staying, and fall. So because this is repeated again and again. Now although the what's called the thoughts may appear now, so or the feelings may appear now, they have something common. All this object, what you observe, it is a rise and fall. That is actually because this rise and fall is repeated for every object we see. So that is something constant. Because it is something constant, the meditator can actually focus his mind on this rise and fall again and again. He gets a certain samadhi, which is called Vipassana samadhi. It is Vipassana produced through seeing the rise and fall of this phenomena. Again, he gives another example. One knows perceptions as they arise, as they stay, as they disappear. So again, with perceptions, one can see that there is a rise, staying, and fall. That is why his mind has to be focused in order to get this samadhi. And one knows thoughts as they arise, as they stay, and as they disappear. So that is samadhi bhavana, what called the Buddha says, is developed through Vipassana. So because this principle of rise and fall is repeated again and again, the meditator does not get lost. So if one sees the called, otherwise he will see different aspects of our existence. But all these aspects have a common, as called constant thing, that is the rise and staying and fall. So in this way now, the Buddha as called emphasizes this part in Satipatthana Sutta to see this rise and fall again in order to get this concentration and to see the universal characteristic of all these phenomena. One should start with whatever is more prominent, and then slowly one can expand his knowledge that this rise and fall does not occur only in particular phenomena, but occurs in every aspect of our existence. So regarding this rise and fall, the Buddha did not speak only in Satipatthana Sutta, he spoke in other parts of his discourses. So one famous book which is in a Buddhist world is Dhammapada. Even in Dhammapada, he speaks about the rise and fall, and he says, even though one should live 100 years without comprehending how all things rise and fall, yet better indeed is a single day's life for one who comprehends how all things rise and fall. And the last words of the Buddha were, all phenomena have the nature of fall. Try to understand this with diligence. So before the Buddha left his disciples, he warned them, trying to understand this with diligence, that all have the nature of fall. So this is from the Digha Nikaya, Sutta Mahaparinibbana Sutta. So, and those who attain the first stage of enlightenment, which is the stream entry, which is Sotapannahood, they also understand this principle. So therefore, for the attainment of the stream entry of Sotapannahood, what is the person who attains this understands? So those who attain Sotapannahood understand whatever has the nature to rise, all that has the nature to cease, to fall. So therefore, in the suttas, we can find many references. Whenever one attains Sotapannahood, he makes his declaration. That is the declaration he does. What did he understand? That whatever has the nature to rise, all that has the nature to cease, the fall. So that is the Pali word. The Pali words the Sotapannas use when they make this declaration. So that is very common to find in the suttas. So this understanding of the Sotapannahood, it is called the eye of the Dhamma, Dhammachakkhu. That's why in the suttas, it's mentioned whenever a Sotapanna becomes Sotapanna, it says that the Dhammachakkhu arose in him. So that Dhammachakkhu is the eye of the Dhamma, that is the eye of the true nature of all phenomena. That is the nature. What is the nature of that? To see, here it is the nature. Whatever is the nature to rise, all that is the nature to cease. So therefore now, that is how one can attain the first stage of enlightenment, which is Sotapannahood. So having seen this truth through the observance of rise and fall, a Sotapanna has severed the fetter of self-identity view or personality view. He don't identify himself with all these mental material phenomena. And also the skeptical doubt, vicikicca, and also the adherence to rules and austerities, with the belief that only these alone can bring about purification and liberation. Now, rules and austerities, the Buddha has put rules and austerities down even for lay people who want to observe them, like ethical rules and so forth. But if one thinks, oh, that will be only enough for me for liberation, that is wrong view. This is only the means. Rules and austerities are certain means. It is actually, if we, so for example, put a program in our life to practice meditation, that program alone is not going to give us liberation. So if we adhere to that belief that only this program is going to give me my liberation, is wrong. One needs to practice further and further in order to attain liberation. So therefore now, a Sotapanna now possesses, by cutting these fetters, possesses the intellect which is excellent in liberating, leading to the complete cessation of existential suffering. So to summarize up to now what we have told, now in Satipatthana Sutta, the observation with mindfulness and awareness have two parts. The first part is what? Is knowing the object of observation, to become aware of it, to become mindful of it. So that is, but that is not only enough. We have to go to the second part and see the Vipassana. That means to see its nature and rise and fall of it. And then knowing the object of observation, as we have already mentioned, can be the body. So, but even so, one should see the rise and fall of it. And can be the feelings. Even so, one should see the rise and fall of it. And then can be the thoughts. And even so, one should see the rise and fall of them. And can be also mental and material phenomena. Even so, one should see the rise and fall of them. So in this way now, to summarize it as called what we have to already mentioned and for you to remember. So now the observation is on what? On the body. So, and we have also mentioned one can start with the breath. That is more prominent part of our body because it contracts and expands all the time. This is the movement of the body. So it can be the feelings. If the feelings are more prominent, one can switch and go to the feelings. While, for example, one observes the breath, so then one can, feelings arise in the body, some pain and so forth. One can switch and go to the pain. If that pain is prominent, it's obvious. So one can switch, go to the pain. But while it's called observing the feeling, let's say thoughts come and so forth. Certain thoughts come which are very prominent. One can go and observe the thoughts. So, and if a sound, for example, come, a mental material phenomenon with sound, let's say, so one can go and observe the sound. Depending what is more prominent, what is more obvious, more clear to one's own mind. So therefore now one can switch therefore from, one can go back, for example, if there are no sound, no mental material phenomenon, you can go back to thoughts if thoughts are prominent. If thoughts are no more there, one can go back to feelings. If feelings are not there, one can go back to the body. So in this way, one can actually, regarding what is more prominent, one can switch and observe this. That is the first part, but the second part is to see the Vipassana. Yes, to see also the Vipassana part, which is rise and fall of this phenomenon. So therefore, you also observe what is more obvious, evident, noticeable to your experience. So if the body, for example, it is more noticeable, more evident. So for example, the breath, you can start observing the breath. If the feelings are more noticeable, evident, and more obvious, you can start observing the feelings. If the thoughts are more prominent, you can start observing the thoughts. If mental material phenomena are more prominent, so you can observe the mental material phenomena. So then you can go back and forth. For example, you can go back to the thoughts or to the feelings, to the body. If nothing is there, you just say with the body, with the breath, for example. So in this way now, you can go back and forth, whatever it is prominent. But as we're told, the principle is the same. So the principle is to see the rise and fall in all these phenomena. So now you can start, for example, with the in-breath and out-breath in the whole body. And mental note, whatever there is in-breath, you mental note in-breath. And then see the second part, which is rise. For the out-breath, you mental note out-breath. And you can see the second part, which is the fall. So then, you can observe this in your tip of the nose, in-breath, mental note, in-breath. And you can see the rise. You can also see, if you feel the out-breath, you can mental note out-breath. So, and also see the fall. So that is why you can do that. So just grossly, in-breath as rise and out-breath as fall. And then for the in-breath, you can also see the rise and fall in the in-breath. So because when the in-breath starts, that is the rise. When it stops, that is the fall. Or for the out-breath, you can see also rise and fall. And then because if the out-breath starts, that is a rise. When it stops, that is a fall. And mental note, in-breath, rise and fall, and out-breath, rise and fall. So regarding the feelings, so that is pleasant feeling, as we mentioned, unpleasant, painful feeling, or neutral feeling. So here again, whatever is more prominent, you can see the first part, and you mental note what is the object, what is the feeling, the nature of the, you can name it, mental note it, and then see the rise and fall of it. With observation of the thoughts is the same. You can actually take the thoughts as grossly, just tell thoughts of thoughts, or you can go and see what kind of thought this is. You can analyze it and see if it is anger or desire or delusion. Accordingly, you mentally note it, and then go to the second part and see the rise and fall of this thought. So with observation of mental material phenomena, So depending what is more prominent, the visual objects, sound, smell, taste, and tangibles. So you can mentally note them. If it's smell, taste, and so forth, you mentally note it. So if it's sound, you mentally note it, and then see how this visual object also rise and falls. So that is how, although the objects are different, actually the principle is one. So that all this phenomena is a rise and fall. If we see only part, for example, you understand only the body is rise and falls, then we can think, oh, feelings are not rise and fall. Thoughts do not rise and fall. I have something permanent in me. So therefore now the Buddha expounded this discourse for us to understand there is nothing a permanent substance within us. We just identify ourselves with these phenomena. We cling to them, and because of that we suffer. We expect this phenomena to behave or to react as we imagine them to be. But because they're impermanent, so many times they don't behave in the way we expect them. So we get disappointed, and because of that we suffer. So by seeing this nature of all these phenomena, one becomes more open-minded, one has this called of kind more equanimity, and does not get agitated, does not get stressed. And so then what is, because of the nature of this phenomenon. So this is a brief explanation regarding this Vipassana meditation. In other classes, we have already explained as called other points regarding the Satipatthana Sutta. Today, we're going to limit our explanation here. So then usually before we start the practice, so we allow people to ask certain questions around 5 minutes, something which is directly relevant to the practice. So then if you have any questions, actually you can, there are 3 options you can ask questions. You can go down in the Zoom screen with your arrow or with your finger, and you can see there are small icons there, like a microphone. There is also a stop video and so forth, or security and so forth. There is chat. There is also in the end a small face which says reactions. So if you click in that, there is a palm, and if you raise it, so you can know that you want to ask something, and you were going to unmute you. So then that is one option. Another option is to go to the icon which says chat. There you can type your message there, and we're going to reply to you. So if you can't succeed like that, you just raise your physical hand, then you understand that you want to ask something. So we're going to allow about 5 minutes for people to ask if there is something very particular for the practice. Of course, we have plenty of time after the practice, because many people are waiting to meditate. So we just give only a small time before we start meditating, maybe around 5 minutes. Afterward, after the meditation, of course, anybody can ask any more questions he likes. So then please, you can use these facilities. Yes, Rui wants to ask something.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So what does Buddha mean exactly when he speaks about purifying beings?
Purification of mind means now our mind gets defiled.
Purification of beings.
Purification of beings.
Yeah.
He
also spoke about defilements of beings.
Yes, this is what purification of means is purification of the mind of beings. It's not the
mind of beings.
The mind of beings.
Okay. So you mean of persons?
Yes, of persons.
Okay.
Being means because persons, human beings. We tell human beings, but the beings are numerous. That's why he did not limit his explanation on the human beings. So therefore, whoever who has understanding somehow, whoever has mind, he can use it, this meditation, in order to purify his mind. That's why I also mentioned it. The reason is that we actually get influenced by these many objects we come across. I told you, if we encounter happy objects, happy visual objects, sounds, we are happy. If not, we are unhappy. So therefore now this object plays so much role how we feel all the time. So why we identify with them, you get influenced by them without understanding the impermanent nature. So once we understand the impermanent nature, we don't get influenced by them because you know next time they are going. They are called, they don't last for long, they are transient. So what is the point? They'll get happy now and then getting upset next time. So therefore now on mind, the mind becomes purified in the sense that does not get attracted to this object, happy object, or get repulsed with unhappy objects. Then you attain some purification in the sense it becomes so equanimous, becomes unshaken, does not get influenced by this. That's why the Buddha tells to be independent. How you can become independent if you get influenced by all these objects around you? We are free? No way. We are not free. And there is a mechanism actually, sometimes we don't understand how we feel so unhappy today. So something happens and so forth, and our moods change anytime. Fluctuate. Our moods all the time fluctuate because you get influenced by this phenomena. And we don't know how our mind gets changed, fettered with this phenomena. Even our thoughts, we identify with them. Our feelings, we identify with them. Either internally or externally, there is all the time some identification, some clinging, and our mind all the time gets called into this fluctuation from happy, unhappy, happy, unhappy, and so on. And sometimes the unhappy feeling becomes very, very unbearable. So we have to go to our friends, tell our problems, and so forth. And then how difficult it is. So then, that's why now our mind all the time get in conflict. In order to avoid that, we have to understand the object we encounter around us. So if we see them, the transient nature of them, then of course we don't get attracted to them or get repulsed towards them, because you know that they are not going to last for long. They're just impermanent things. What's the point to get upset with something? So then it becomes more, he gets an unshaken mind. His mind gets purified in the sense, does not get attracted or repulsed to anything. Becomes independent, not clinging to anything in the world. That is the aim of that. That is the liberation. One gets liberated from that. That's why the Buddha speaks about liberation. What is liberation? So then if we cling to object, identify with them, we are not going to be liberated. There's no way. We are chained with that. So, okay, this is about liberation of beings. You are also being. Try to liberate yourself.
Thank you. Thank you for the answer.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have a question, because on the last lecture, you were telling about anapanasati, yeah? So
Yes.
where we need to focus on like one point so we can get to this meditative state. But here in this meditation, you're saying that we need to focus on, for example, our body, our thoughts, our feelings. So how it's possible through this way to get to this meditative state when we focus on so many things?
Yes, good question. So then now the Buddha actually teaches two kinds of meditations. One is samatha meditation, it's a tranquility meditation. So the other is Vipassana meditation. Tranquility meditation is one takes one object and stays with that, focuses the mind, does not move his mind, and tries to concentrate on that. So this helps to attain some calmness in the mind because one does not move the mind. So, and one can attain concentration. So, and after, of course, the mind becomes very calm, concentrated, then this concentration can help also to observe different material phenomena, to analyze them. It is for analysis. Now, Vipassana is more analytic, all right? So, but if the mind is not calm, the person what's called, can observe this phenomena in a minute way, like thoughts, feelings, and so forth, mental material phenomena. His mind, if his mind is agitated, it is not easy to observe them. So therefore now, for those who have this kind of agitated mind, the Buddha advises to start practicing anapanasati, for example, on the breath. To stick only there, don't move the mind. Stick there and make the mind calm as much as possible by concentrating on object only. If one concentrates, then this agitation of the mind slowly goes down, and then the mind becomes more clear. And he can use this kind of calmness or concentration to switch and start analyzing this phenomena. Analyze the breath, analyze the feelings, analyze the thoughts, and so forth. So because his mind has no agitation. We know now if, for example, you go to read a book, okay, if your mind is agitated, can you concentrate on what the book says? Difficult. So you have difficult to understand, to analyze all these things, what is there. Because the mind is agitated. But if the mind is calm, how nice. You can read 1 page, 2 pages, 3 pages. Don't forget what you have read. So because the mind is calm. So in the same now, if you want to observe a phenomenon, it is good to have a calm mind. So many people who have agitated mind, if you tell them observe this, it's difficult for them because the mind is agitated. So in that case, the Buddha advised, okay, here, you can concentrate. Don't go from object to object. Just stay with an object and concentrate the mind there. So if the mind becomes calm, then it's so easy to observe this phenomenon. So therefore, now both methods are actually, the first method supports the second one. Understand the difference?
Thank you so much.
That's why on Thursday we practice samatha meditation for people to calm their mind, and on Friday, so they can start, maybe they can succeed with Vipassana.
Bante, there are some questions in the chat.
Yes, but now the time is already gone. I will try to pick questions which are very directly relevant to what we're doing. Otherwise, people are waiting to start meditating and it becomes late for them. So, I could just, from Kat Prodger, it says, do you close your eyes and focus on breath, in and out, rise and fall, only if you can, or all of this, what you said, in order? So now you can close your eyes because there is nothing in front to see. So we try to see what is inside us, what happens inside us. In the breath, you can't see the breath. The feelings, can you see your breath? What is the color of the feelings? What is the color of your thoughts? There are no thoughts, there are no colors, there is no shape there. So our physical eyes are actually not relevant to our practice. Yes, but we have to use mental eyes. Mental eyes means your mind to understand what is going on. It's awareness. Awareness and mindfulness about the breath. Therefore, your physical eyes, you can close them and you have less distractions if you close them. If you open them, of course, you are starting looking what is in front of your screen. So you may look other objects around you, colors and shapes, and you get distracted. So it's better to close the eyes and observe this phenomena. And regarding the order, of course, now the order it is, as I told you, you go to the first part, which is to be mindful on the object you observe, for example, the breath. You can tell 2-3 times in breath, in out breath, to be familiar with the whole process. And after, try to see how this breath behaves, what is the nature of this breath, and see that it rises and falls, and start to see this nature of rise and fall of the breath. So the same with feelings. in the beginning, if there is a feeling, you mentally note feeling, feeling, feeling. You can tell especially what kind of feeling this is. If it is unpleasant, you tell unpleasant feeling, for example. So you mentally note it, unpleasant feeling, 2-3 times. That is the first part. And then go to the second part to see the nature of this feeling. After you see that this feeling rises, stays, and falls. If you see this feeling staying, you can mentally note staying, 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 till that feeling stays. After you see the fall, you mentally note fall. So in this way now, you have to use these words. These words are very important. Otherwise, the mind does not know what to do. So you have to remember these words. So and repeat them. So then, and this is not guided meditation. You have to be the teacher of yourself, because you know what your mind is, what is more prominent for you to observe. That's called, if the teacher tells, it will be artificial. Artificial. The teacher might tell you to observe something which you can't observe, but you can see what is happening within you. You have to be your own teacher. You have to guide yourself and so forth and see what is this. So understand, try to understand yourself. So it is also self-knowledge, because in this way you can understand what happens within us. What are these things which is called how our mind operates, how our body operates. This is also for self-knowledge, and this is the time how you can start observing with awareness and mindfulness. So what is more prominent, you can take it and observe it and mentally note it, the object you observe. If there's a breath, you mentally note in breath, out breath 2, 3, 4 times, and then observe the rise and fall. If there are feelings, you mentally note pleasant or unpleasant feeling 2, 3, 4 times, and mentally note as called. Then go to the second part, observe what is the nature of this feeling. Let's see what is that, and see the rise and fall. So, and then thoughts the same. So if the thoughts stay, then you can mentally note thought staying, staying, staying. You can continue telling the word staying, staying, and then fall when you can see it falling. So it needs to be patient. So it is not complicated, because now the second part is the same. Okay. If we repeat the same part, it's rise and fall. You don't repeat any special words or rise, staying, and fall. On the first part, of course, the object is different. Therefore, you must be aware of the object. You have to repeat 2-3 times what the object is. So, and then you go to the second part, which is the same for every object you encounter. So it is not difficult. It's only just to get the momentum, to be familiar with this practice. And then you can actually go ahead. After the mind becomes familiar, you can skip these words. You can observe that the mind by itself can observe these things. You don't need to use the words anymore. So the mind by itself will become familiar with that, and it is automatically you can see that the mind immediately can see this phenomena without you make a special effort to do that. So therefore, before you get momentum, till you get momentum, you have to use these words in order to become aware of this phenomena. Otherwise, a guide as called the teacher is not going to tell you whether you feel unpleasant feeling or unpleasant feeling. You have to know it. So if you feel pain, you know it. Even your brother does not know it. Your sister does not know it. So your father does not know it. Your mother does not know it. You know it. So try to observe what is within you. So then, all right, now regarding other questions, we're going to respond to them after the meditation. Now, many people have voted regarding the time. Most of them, 50% had voted for 30 minutes. 14% has voted for 40 minutes. And 23% have voted for 45 minutes. And 14% has voted for 60 minutes. So it is almost like the last time. So therefore, not to be fair, we're going to meditate 35 minutes, because there are also other people who want to meditate longer than 30 minutes. So we're going to set the time 35 minutes and hope that will be just for satisfy also the others who want to stay to meditate longer. All right, Now, before we start, you can prepare your seat. You can prepare the place you want to sit and meditate. So I will tell you just briefly within few minutes what you have to do. The practice is very simple. What makes actually these explanations, it is because we must have confidence from where this information comes. Okay, that's why I put the PowerPoint presentation. Otherwise, I can explain this within 5 minutes and you can start meditating. So, but those who don't have the confidence how to do that, that's why I present this PowerPoint presentation to give the references. So, and to have somehow an idea from where this practice comes. So, all right, now in few minutes, I will explain what you have to do. You can sit comfortably in any seat. Now, for example, chair, on the ground. You can sit on the bed. So, but main thing is you keep your spine erect. So that is very important because that's why you become alert. If you are lying down, you become lethargic. That's why you keep your spine erect. So, and in order to start, you just, I would suggest you start with something prominent, which is the breath. So, and just observe the breath. You can observe the breath in any parts of the body which is more prominent. If you feel it on the belly, on the chest, on the tip of the nose. So you mental note, in breath, out breath, in breath, out breath. Try to identify the spot where the breath is. For the 4 or 3 times, you mental note in breath, out breath. So, and then go to the second part I told you, it's called, which is to see what happens with the breath. What is the nature of this breath? It rises and falls. Okay, now you mental note rise and fall, rise and fall. For the in-breath, rise. For the out-breath, fall. You can do it again, again, again. Try to see all the process of rise and fall. So that is one aspect. So if you want, this is in gross way. But if you go in a more subtle way, you can see that the in-breath itself rises and falls. The out-breath also itself rises and falls. You can see the beginning in the in-breath, you can see an end. The beginning is rise, the end is a fall. For the out-breath, the same. You can see that the beginning of the out-breath, that is the rise, and the end is the fall. So therefore, if you want to see more details, so another way. So then now, regarding while you are meditating on the breath, so maybe after 2-3 minutes, many thoughts come. What is this practice? Why I'm practicing this? What is the meaning of this? Maybe I'm wrong. I maybe do this. Maybe many thoughts come. All right. So something will come in your mind. If it comes, if that becomes more prominent, or maybe memories come from events that happen in your life, or for the future you plan something, many thoughts come. Okay, you can take them as grossly, and just a mental note, thought, or in the plural, thoughts. So 2-3 times, if they are prominent, obvious in your mind, and you can't concentrate on the breath. So because thoughts came, you go to the thoughts, and then 2-3 times you mental note thoughts in the gross way, and then go to the second part and see what is the nature of these thoughts, how they behave. After you observe, you can see that they rise, stay. Then after sometimes they fall. So sometimes they rise and fall very fast. So whenever you can see, either you can see the rise, or you can see the fall, you can see the staying. So one of them you mentally note. So you don't repeat this word just by like a mantra. No, it has to be relevant to the experience you have. So it must correspond to what you see, what is in front of you. So therefore now that is one way how you can see observe the thoughts in a cross way. But if you can see these thoughts repeat themselves again, they come again, they don't go away. So you can go and see what is the content of these thoughts. So then if it is thought with desire, with anger or delusion, you can name it and see the same way, go to the second part and see the rise and staying of it. So, and then you can, if you like, you can see the opposite thoughts, which is without desire, without anger, without delusion. So if they are prominent, otherwise you just skip them. So, and if the thoughts go away, there is no more thoughts, you can go back to your breath. So while you're observing the breath, maybe after some time you get a neck pain or a knee pain or something in the spine or the head, somewhere you can feel some sensation in the body. If these are prominent, not just because they come and go quickly, if they remain for some time, it becomes so prominent, you go to that spot where the pain is or the unpleasant feeling, or you mentally note unpleasant feeling 2, 3, 4 times. So then, and go to the second part to see what is the nature of this feeling. After you observe, you can see that also this feeling stays for some time, and then it falls. If it recurs, you can see the rise. If it stays, you can see the staying. And if it falls, you can see the falls. So therefore now, it is the same procedure as called, although the object changes, the body with the breath, the thoughts, or the feelings, they have the same characteristic that they rise and fall. Therefore, for the second part, you don't need to use any new words. The words are the same, rise or staying and fall. For the first part, of course, depending on the object, you just change the words corresponding to the object you observe. So therefore now we have actually 3 areas to observe: is the body, as called with the breath, the feelings, and the thoughts. So if sounds come, you can hear some sound, you can also, if they are very prominent, you can take the sound as an object, mentally note sound, and then go to the second part to see what is the nature of the sound. This also rise, stays, and falls. So, all right, this is just a brief explanation. We're going to start now. Any other question you can ask after the meditation session. So now before starting, a bell is going to ring. So for those, please check your devices. If your volume is high, so you might get annoyed by the bell. So try to reduce your volume. So then the bell will be moderate sound. So, and as we are told, that time will be 35 minutes. What? Today, many bells. Okay, 35 minutes passed. As every time, we allow people to ask any questions regarding difficulties they encounter, or any other general questions, and also other statements they have to make. As I told you, there are 3 options. If you go down to the Zoom screen, you can find some small icons. If you do with your arrow or with your finger. So then you can find a small face at the end of the icons which says reactions. So, and you can click the hand, this yellow hand, which will indicate that you want to ask a question. So another way it is you can type a question on the chat box. As a last resort, you can raise your hand. Then you can understand that you want to ask something. So then now there are already questions in the chat box. I will start with the chat box, except if somebody raise your hand, his hand, we can. Yes, about there is from Ellen a question. So she raised her hands.
Yes, I clicked unmute. She needs to unmute herself as well. So she's still muted. So maybe we can go.
So she finds the trick. So we are going to reply a question from the chat box. Vanessa asks, what if the feeling or thought overwhelms you? When I observe an unpleasant feeling, for example, it sometimes becomes worse. How do I stop this from happening? So now, as I told you, we observe these feelings on any thoughts in 2 parts. Now, the first part it is we try to identify what the feeling is. That is, let's say it's unpleasant feeling. And then go to the second part to see the nature of feeling. We observe it in an objective way. We don't try to push this feeling outside us to fight with this feeling and expect this feeling to go away. This is what most people do. Unpleasant feeling, they are in rush. They want to disappear from them. And they start a conflict within them. So, but if you observe it objectively and try to see its nature, you do the following. So if that feeling stays, you mentally not staying. You have to use this word in order to keep the mind not get involved with this feeling. So repeat again, staying, as long as this feeling stays. And after some time, you can see that this feeling recedes, it goes. Then if it falls, you can tell fall. So although this feeling becomes very overwhelming you, so if you observe it in objective way, you don't get involved with that. See it in a very objective way by using these words. So then you keep a distance from it and see it as called in the phase when it stays, you just repeat staying as long as this feeling stays. So after some time you can see that this feeling has no any real substance in that. It will dissolve when it goes. If it gets repeated, you can see the rise of it. Then if it stays, you can repeat again, staying. And then till you see it falling, you can say fall. So that is way how you can overcome this kind of aversion towards this feeling. Otherwise, the aversion will become more tense, and this feeling actually it gets intensified. So the same happens with thoughts. If many thoughts come and we want them to get out of us, we don't like these thoughts and so forth, and these thoughts persist, we will go what's called and mention the first, do the first part by mentioning thought, or thoughts. And if we can also identify what kind of thoughts these are, so it is much better because we'll become more precise. And if it is thought with desire, or thought with anger, or thought with delusion, you can also name them, because in that case we can observe them much better. So, and then go to the second part to see what is the nature of these thoughts. If they stay, we just tell staying. As long as they stay, we repeat this word, staying. In that case, now we just see them in an objective way, don't get involved with them. And after some time, when observe that these thoughts, they just dissolve and then they fall. And then when we see the fall, you can tell fall. If they recur, so you can try to see the rise, and after, if they stay, you can repeat staying, and if they fall, you can see the fall. So please repeat these words. If you don't repeat these words, the mind does not know what to do. Ultimately, it gets involved with these thoughts or with these feelings, and you get more overwhelmed by them. Try to use these words again, and mentally note in order to understand the nature of these feelings or these thoughts, and then you can see that they lessen. They have no power by themselves. If we give them importance, of course, they will give them more power. But if we see them objectively by seeing the impermanent nature, so they have no power by themselves. They lose the power and they vanish. So there is one question from Regina. She asked, where do you think our thoughts come from? Do we produce our thoughts or do we attract them? So, and then, or are there several ways our thoughts come to us? All right, this is a question I'm going to reply later, because this needs explanation. So, and it will take some time. So therefore, I will concentrate on other thoughts which are just sharp to the point regarding this need little time to answer them. So then, therefore, we beg Regina to be patient. I will come back to this question. It's a very important question. So, but it needs more time to be explained. Therefore, we're going to explain only questions who take little time. So,
I think James has a question, Bante.
okay.
Hello there. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for this. Just one moment. My apologies. Yes. Sorry, someone's trying to ring. My apologies. Yeah, sorry about that. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear. Yes.
Yeah, for a long time I've been observing your rise, rising and stays and passes away. I've had an anxiety in my chest for a long time now, and it ironically came about through meditation. and I've never been able to get rid of it. And I suppose trying to get rid of it's not the key, is it?
It is what is anxiety? Can you tell again?
Yes, it's basically anxiety in my chest area, which is, I think,
The pain. Is a pain or what? Can
yeah,
feel
like
it.
a pain. It's like a anxiety, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it holds me back quite a lot in being able to, you know, it makes me procrastinate a lot. It makes me slows down my functioning, it, you know, and all those things. Because I find it's quite a draining thing. And
So now with meditation, of course, yes, now we don't try to get rid of them like that. You just try to see the impermanent nature of that. Once we see the impermanent nature of that, we don't relate it to it. This is me, this is myself, and so forth, because you don't get emotional with that. So that is objective observation, not subjective. We don't see it as subjectively. So we just see it as just phenomena which rises, stays for sometimes and falls. It has, you know, its own nature. We never tell this feeling to come. Did you tell this feeling to come? No.
Tell them what, sorry?
Did you tell this feeling to come? This painful feeling? No.
No.
Did you tell it to stay? No. Did you tell it to go away? Sometimes it goes away. So without your permission, it comes, it stays, it goes. Then you, if you observe it, you ultimately understand, who is this? It cannot be me.
It's just been, well, I won't say it's permanent because nothing's impermanent, but it's been around for a long time. So it's got a feeling
What
of.
happens now, we get a mental pain also now, because this pain, we get a mental pain because if we identify with it, it is why I'm suffering. I. So it is me, myself, who suffers. Then ultimately, because of this physical pain, you get also mental pain. You feel sorrow, who are depressed because I'm suffering, I have this feeling. Why it came to me? Why the other people are happy? I am not happy with this feeling. This is why we create a conflict with us, mental conflict. But if you see the impermanent nature of that, of course, that conflict does not happen. We can see just a phenomenon which is there. That is from the Vipassana point of view. But I would suggest that if there is something like that, what you have pain on the chest, you better also see from the medical point of view, okay? Because it can be something serious, especially with the heart or something like that. It's better to have a medical check. So that is also advisable. And some medications also may help, or maybe some exercise can help. So it can be because of the muscles, but it can be because of arteries in the heart. So it can be some chest problems, so forth, some infection in the chest. It's better to make a medical check, and that also will help, because now we identify these things because the Vipassana, it is to get rid of suffering, all right? So, and one thing is, once you become aware of this phenomenon inside your body, so then you can actually find a solution also. Now it's called, because some people, there are pains in the body, they ignore them. They ignore them. After they don't become very severe, then they run to the doctor, which sometimes can be late. All right? So, but once you practice Vipassana and see something which happens in your body, which then you can identify it earlier. And actually, you can, if you take medicine, it is not too late. You can actually find a remedy for that. So therefore, Vipassana does not mean only to see the permanent nature of that, but you can see what happens actually within us, to identify it and to prevent things, even sicknesses, to happen. So therefore, you also, I would suggest, if you have get a chance, it's better to get the medical advice regarding this, medical check, and see maybe there is something inside, if that it is real severe, if you, you meditate and that persists, that pain persists and so forth, especially on the chest. These are very sensitive organs around the chest, the lungs and the heart. These are very sensitive organs, and it's better to take some precautions, and also a medical check is good. Except if you think it is something which you, by exercise, you can solve it. Make some exercise.
I think it does come a lot from mental activity, negative thinking about people, relationships, but it seems to be there, and it seems to be there when I'm not thinking about negative thoughts.
Right. It is like a psychosomatic, we can tell it.
Yeah, it's kind of always there, through the day, and I have identified with it, so I have a sense that that's me now because it's been there for so long. So even though I meditate, it's kind of always there.
That is the case, of course, you can easily overcome it. That's called, you can, if you work with it, just observe it again and again. And don't try to push it away, because once you try to fight it, that will intensify more. Try to see it objectively, not subjectively. So, and try to see it's just a process. Inside, just a process. Not a person there, just a process which actually stays. If it stays, you just repeat the word staying. Slowly. You don't be in rush. You should be in rush. Slowly, you can tell staying. Repeat again. As long as it stays, you just repeat this word, staying. And after some time, you can see, oh, this does not stay actually. It rises, falls like waves, small waves, and goes like waves. The similar I give is usually now, for example, if you see a river from afar, so it looks like it does not move at all. So, but if you go closer, you see, oh, that is just, it's called, see the whole stream, it moves. So something similar, if we see this feeling, if you repeat staying, you can like go and zoom in. Then you can see, oh, this does not stay at all, it just moves. It is called, you can see small waves rise and fall, small wave, till it vanishes and goes, perishes and passes away. That is a fall. So, but you have to be consistent with your practice, persistent also. So, and then you don't identify with that. So you feel relaxed. After you go, you feel the whole body becomes relaxed. So it might come again. So don't expect that it won't come again. If you have it for a long time, no, it's going to come again. But be patient. If you observe it again and again, concentrate on that. That's why I told also during the class that some people, they can work with feelings better because that is the prominent part. If you tell them to think about things, no. If you tell them to observe the breath, can't, because the feeling is so prominent. So no problem. You can go ahead and observe the feelings. So any other feeling, any other parts of the body, they occur, and so you can see them. So, but main thing is you understand the principle, the fundamental principle, that they all have the nature to rise and stay and fall. So, and you are slowly, you have become independent, means you don't cling to it, you don't become averse to it, you become independent, you look at it independently, like it's just a process. It appears, comes and goes. And then ultimately, then you can see sometimes how these are related with thoughts. Sometimes if the feeling goes, you can see that actually what causes this feeling to arise. If it is psychosomatic, you can find there are some certain thoughts who come in that moment, which actually trigger this feeling to come. So it can be anger towards yourself, towards others. It can be desire, you crave for something to happen, it does not happen, you feel stress. So it can be, it's called, then you try to identify especially desire and what's called, or craving and so forth, or anger. These are maybe what's called, this can be the cause behind why this psychosomatic pain comes. If these thoughts, memories come, for example, where you remember something unpleasant, so usually it is some anger behind. So then you can identify this anger, what you got something upset with something, you didn't like it, which caused you so much pain in the mind. ultimately this manifests also in the body. So therefore now, if you observe this feeling again and again, you can see also the background. What is on the background of this feeling? Which may be thoughts. If you identify the thoughts, you can start working with the thoughts.
You know, I personalized, so the feeling that then my thought patterns say about, say, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, or not so much, or my dad, or, you know, whoever it may be, that creates a story, doesn't it? So that creates like a thinking about it in relation to me, you know, and yeah, that thing obviously creates anxiety. But when I'm not thinking that, so I'm making a cup of tea in the kitchen and thinking more about mowing the lawn in the garden, that anxiety is still there. So I assume that thought keeps it, you know, it's been going on for a long time, negative thinking. And so it's built up in, I assume emotionally it's built up.
Yes, if that is the case, that is also good. Now, you know, you use the word anxiety. Okay. Whenever these kind of thoughts come, you name them anxiety, 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 thought with anxiety. Tell them thought with anxiety, because you know what the area is. It's not a feeling, it's just an anxiety. If you tell thought, you know it's just a thought, all right? It's not a person. So if you tell only anxiety, you think, oh, it is my anxiety and so on. So, but in that case, now you use the terminology, thought with anxiety. 2-3 times you tell, and then you just observe, staying. Then after some time, it goes away. So you can use this is what you understand better. So you can grasp it and see how these thoughts and so forth ultimately loses slowly its power. Because you see it objectively, you don't see it subjectively. Then slowly it loses its grip and it goes away. So then you feel relaxed. Maybe in that case also you feel also some relief in your chest also. So this is how you can walk it. I am telling you, as well, it's not only the feelings. Thoughts can produce this kind of pain in the body sometimes, in certain parts of the body, especially in the area of the heart, because we know if, for example, we get this kind of strong emotions, our heart bumps. You can feel it. Heart is very sensitive organ. So therefore, immediately you can see some certain emotions. They start the heart bumping because the blood circulates faster. So, and that can cause also some physical, it's called wounds, if we will like that. Yeah. So because of the mental anxiety.
And it's when I think about the past, so there's an irony of it, because when I think about past where I could have been better or something, because of this anxiety, that then creates anxiety. So there's kind of like this bizarre, well, I think about a past moment where I probably wasn't fully, I know for what, because when the anxiety's not been there, how much better I performed, say at work or whatever it may be.
It's a regret like that. It's like a regret.
Yeah, like a regret. I think I would have, if I had not had anxiety, I would have been better. And that creates the anxiety now. So it's kind of like self-perpetuating thing. But I cannot seem to stop it. Cannot seem to. So
actually now in Buddhist psychology, we identify this anger. It's like annoyance, okay?
Yeah.
You get annoyed with something which it should happen, it did not happen during the past. And you get annoyed with that. It's like an anger towards yourself.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
It's anger. It's actually an anger. And maybe an anger to other people who prevented something to happen, also get angry with others.
Yes, that's it.
And therefore now we have anger towards yourself and anger towards others.
Yes, that's it.
That's why now we use this word anger, which includes all this kind of thought which one feels something annoyed with, get upset with. So these small annoyances, they are sparks of annoyance. They create, as called, if they increase, then you can feel this anger coming in your mind. Anxiety comes in your mind. Stress comes in your mind. So then, and fear also comes because we think it's called what I can do now because I lost this, what I had. I have the opportunity and so forth. Then fear, it's called the future becomes, it's called very insecure. You feel insecure also. So this is how, because of the small parts of annoyance we get. So it builds to anger and can be also other more strong emotions, hate, hatred. So hate can be also there. So it is actually the same emotion in different degrees. That's why you use synonyms for that, different names to see the intensity of that. Now, growth means that is a more strong emotion of anger. It's a high degree of anger. Hate or hatred is high degree of anger. So therefore, but it starts from annoyance. The whole spark starts from annoyance. Many annoyance ultimately builds what's called stronger anger and so forth. It can be strong in different degrees. The intensity can be higher and lower. So that's why you can use the word anger if you like. That is one way if you understand it. If you understand this anxiety, you can use the word anxiety. But this within this area. So, or however much you can understand it. Lord, if you work it slowly, you may understand some other things also. If you want to use some words which make more sense to you, you understand what is going on, you use that word and try to see which word is more relevant to what you feel, what you think. So, and you had better write it down, take a notebook and write down. So because the mind is easy to forget. So write down these thoughts and so forth and check every day and so forth what you have written down, how to observe this. If you sit for meditation, what you have to observe. So then that is also mindfulness. Because it is actually, you become mindful of that more and more. The more you become aware, the more this thought or thoughts have no room within you to stay. So because you see more objectively and then ultimately lose the grip.
Yeah. Objectivity is the key, isn't it?
Yes, but you can't achieve it if you don't use this word. You have to actually use these words. Identify what is the object you observe, a thought or feelings and so forth, and try to see when it stays, staying. You repeat this word, staying. You just stay with it. Don't try to push it away. Don't try to get it close to you. You just repeat what happens with it.
You can easily get absorbed in it though, can't you? Which moves you away from labeling it as staying or anxiety. You mentally get absorbed in the emotion.
Sometimes yes, but after if you do it again, then you can see the impermanent nature. So you can see the permanent nature. What is this? Why am I getting involved with that? Because you know next time it's going to go.
Yeah.
Then that you get you think, wow, I've been cheated with this mind. So this is just impermanent thing. I'm just clinging to impermanent thing. I'm grasping it. I define with myself. I want to make part of myself. So ultimately you let go. Let go means you don't identify with that because you know the impermanent, the transient nature. Only if you see the transient nature, if you see the transient nature of that, then of course you can let go. Otherwise, it's not going to go because the mind is not going to be detached of it. Not to touch your mind, you have to see the permanent nature.
Also, in relation to...
I'm sorry to
yeah, but I better stop now. I'm too long.
You can ask later because some people are waiting for a short question.
Yeah.
So...
Thank you so much.
Well, I have plenty of time, no problem. So then, because other people, they ask small questions, I will try to answer them. We can continue if you like later. I will remind you.
Lovely, thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. So Clinton asked the question. I don't know whether Clinton is still there. Clinton Rogers.
Yes, Clinton is here.
Okay. So the question is, I struggle to breathe through my nose. How can I improve this, or is not vital? So now in this Vipassana meditation is not vital. If you have, for example, if you can watch your thoughts, your feelings, that is also okay. You can start with them slowly, slowly. If the mind becomes calm, later, of course, you can see how easy also to observe the breath. Because once the mind is confused, agitated a lot and so forth, so and then you can see also the breath becomes very fast. It's very difficult to observe. But if you can observe the breath in your chest or in your belly, that is also okay. Because you tell that you struggle to observe the breath through your nose, no? You can observe now with Vipassana meditation, you can observe in any other parts, like the chest or belly. If that is more prominent, you just go in that place and you can observe the breath, no problem. So slowly, you can see that if the mind becomes calm, it's easy also to observe at the nose. So it is for the time being, don't see it as something vital in this meditation. It's not. So Sylvia asked the question, I have many thoughts coming in my mind about a situation in the future that can happen or a situation in the past. Some of them are related with ordinary things. For example, the day for a package to come, someone that will visit me, etc. Sometimes I cannot even realize that I'm thinking about it. So I cannot name it or analyze it. How to improve that? So as I already mentioned, you just take these thoughts grossly and name them thoughts in plural, or if it is, you can tell in singular also thought. So, but let's say you take thoughts as plural. You know that you are thinking, okay, you name them thoughts 3-4 times, and then go to the second part to see if these thoughts stay. You repeat again, staying, as long as these thoughts stay. Try to see them objectively. So, and you don't try to stop these thoughts, not to get involved with them, but to see how the nature of them. Try to see the nature of these thoughts. And then if you observe, then after some time, you can see after staying, these thoughts also, they fall, they pass away. So in that case, you can tell the word fall. So if they recur, you can see how they arise, how they stay. If they stay, you can repeat staying, as long as they stay. After you see them fall, you can see the fall. You have to repeat these words, otherwise the mind does not know what to observe. So later, of course, if the mind becomes already trained, then you can see the mind can see this automatically. As soon as you turn the mind to your thoughts, the mind knows what to observe. So you can skip the words later, but for the beginning, you have to use the words and insist. Don't let the mind tell the inner chatter. The mind starting his own inner chatter. You have to start your chatter, but which makes sense to understand that I call the nature of these thoughts. Try to repeat these words again and again, rise or staying and fall. So there are sometimes thoughts which are very swift. They come and go. So you just ignore them because it's difficult to observe them. You go and observe the breath. So, but if these thoughts persist and they come very often, you can tell them as a group like that and tell them thoughts, 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 and see how they rise and fall, rise, stay and fall. So Caris Hervey asked the question, I get frustrated, or maybe I got frustrated, or I get frustrated when I unwantingly cling to thoughts, feeling, etc. when trying to meditate. Does it get easier with practice? Yes, practice is important. We have to train the mind to see as called these things objectively. So, of course, in the beginning it's difficult because our mind is not trained to that. We try to get involved. Sometimes we like to think something. If we don't think something, we try to create something to think. And there is an inner chatter of the mind also. So if we sit alone and we feel that we have to talk, to tell something to ourselves, or imagine something that is going to, he comes and talks with us and we have a chat with him. So therefore, this is the usual behavior of the mind. But if we go and meditate, we have to use these words, try to use these words again and again. So as I told you, to see the nature of them, how they rise, stay and fall. And as I told you, persist on that. So especially if these thoughts persist or this feeling persists, you also to tell staying as long as they last, and then see the fall whenever they fall. So this gets easier with practice. You can overcome them. So Regina has called, yes, just a moment, because there was a small question came. I will come back to Regina. Yes, Ellen makes a statement. She says, it was the first time for me and the words helped me so much. Rise and fall. Sound, rise, staying, and then disappeared. I got some pain in my leg and acknowledge it. After saying staying, it began to wane. It was very positive experience. I felt I went quite high. Thank you. Okay, that is just a statement. Now we're going to, because there are no more questions, I'm going to go to the question of Regina. So she's still there, no? Yes, she's still here. All right, now the question is, where do you think our thoughts come from? Do we produce our thoughts or do we attract them? Or are there several ways our thoughts come to us? So now this needs an explanation. So I will beg the patience of the audience. So then now regarding from where our thoughts come from. So our thoughts actually come from conditions, from cause and conditions. If there are cause and conditions, our thoughts rise, they stay and continue for some time. If there are no cause and conditions, our thoughts are no more than. So then I will just give an example for you, and a gross example for you to understand. Now, in front of you now, you might not have fire. Fire means you don't have fire in front of you, but if you take two sticks, dry sticks, it might be dry sticks, and you start rubbing them together, okay, for a long time, because of this friction, slowly, smoke starting coming. And after, if you continue rubbing them, the fire will come. So now this fire came from where? Where it was stored? It was stored inside the sticks, these dry sticks. If you take the sticks and cut them, you can't find fire. So, but what happened? Now this fire was produced how? Because of conditions. Okay, there are certain conditions for this fire to appear. It was not there, but it appeared. So because there are in the stick, there are certain ingredients, some certain chemicals, which if they come under friction for a long time, then they produce fire. So something similar happened with our thoughts, all right? So our thoughts need certain conditions, certain friction to come. And now I will tell you what is this friction, how this friction happens for our thoughts to occur. So let's see, you are walking on the road and you see a beautiful flower in front of you, okay? You go to the shop and see a beautiful flower and you think, oh, I must buy this. This is so beautiful. I must get it. And you go closer and you want to buy it, to get in your home because you got attracted to it. So now you got a desire for it. You're starting thinking about it, how to get it in your home. So now these thoughts of desire, while you're walking on the road, were not there. But they occurred when? When you saw the flower. And the flower must be attractive, must have beautiful flower, beautiful shape. So therefore now this thought was not there. This desire was not there at all in you. But when it came with friction, in contact with the object, which is a flower. So that is where the desire, this thought of desire arose in you. It was not there, it came. So therefore now, if you observe closely, there is a certain mechanism here, how these thoughts arise. They don't arise randomly. There must be a cause there, a cause. There must be conditions there. So now, I will tell you now, the cause is the flower, this beautiful flower, all right? So, but there must be conditions around the flower for the desire to come. I will tell you an example, some gross conditions. Now, the flower is there, which is the cause. But if there is no light, you can't see the flower. So then desire is not going to arise. For desire to arise, light is needed for you to see the object, okay, which is a flower. So therefore, light is a condition. So if there is light, yes, you can see, then desire will come. Okay, now we have a condition there. So another thing is the color. Now, if the flower is red color, let's say, and the wall behind the flower is also red, so you can't distinguish because both are red. There is no contrast there. The wall is red, and then in front of the wall is a flower, is also red. So then there is not much distinction there. Therefore, desire can't arise because you can't see the contrast there. So therefore now, contrast is a condition for desire to arise. Contrast of colors. If the wall is white and then the color of the flower is red, then you can see the contrast. Then desire will arise. All right? So therefore, light is a condition as called the contrast of colors are another condition. Another is the shape of the flower plays a role. Okay? Some people, they like this shape or some other. But this flower is a particular shape. That's why the eye is called likes it. There is some symmetry. Okay? In geometry, we have symmetry. There must be some symmetry for the eye to see what is beauty, what is not beauty. If it is asymmetrical, of course, the beauty is no more there. But it must be some symmetry for the eye, for our physiology of our eye, to catch it, to see something beautiful. So therefore, this symmetry is also a condition for desire to arise. Now we have 3-4 conditions, gross conditions, who play a role for desire to arise. Now the cause is what? Is one, is a flower, but conditions are needed. Therefore, only the cause is not enough for the desire to arise. Conditions are needed for that. If there is no light, no desire. If there is a contrast of colors, no desire. If there is no symmetry, no desire. All right, now we have cause and conditions. How this desire arises? From where it came? Okay, there is friction, it's called, between the object and the mind. So that's why desire arises. Now we have external conditions, but we have internal conditions. All right, now if you observe, so the internal condition, we must have an eye in order to see it. If our eye is damaged, you can't see the flower. So desire is going to arise, no way. Another is, if our eye is closed, the time we pass that shop, okay, that with a beautiful flower, if our eye is closed, so we can't see the flower, therefore no desire is going to arise. If, for example, while you are walking on the road, somebody talks to us and our attention goes something else, somewhere else, and we don't see this flower, desire is not going to arise. Therefore, attention is important. Attention is another condition. Okay, the physical eye is a condition. Attention must be also there. So another thing is, now, even if we see the flower, our perception plays a role. How we perceive this flower. Okay, in that moment, for example, if you are sorrow for something, we think about something, our relative died for us. We are very sorry for something. Now this flower, we are in very bad mood. Even if we see this flower will not look like so beautiful because our mind is very sorrowful. We think something else. So this can blur our mind not to see the beauty of the flower. So therefore now this sorrow can prevent our desire to arise. Now we see it from psychological point, how many conditions we need for this desire to arise. So we have external conditions, we have internal conditions. So therefore, these are the ingredients, necessary ingredients for this desire to arise. If these ingredients, with their conditions are not there, desire is not going to arise. This is now some gross analysis, how our mind works, how our thoughts are produced. So that's why the Buddha speaks about these pacchayas, hetu-pacchayas. Everything arises because of causative conditions. So it is conditionality of things, causality and conditionality of things. Things do not fall from the sky, just randomly, without cause, without conditions. They happen because conditions are there. In the same way I told you this example with a fire. Fire is, we call this conditioned phenomena. Conditioned. Why it is conditioned? Because it needs conditions for it to appear. Fire does not appear by itself. Our thoughts also need conditions to appear, like fire. Like fire, they come in our mind, they spring in our mind. Because there are certain ingredients, they have to come together. If they fit in the proper way to come together, then desire comes. Then anger comes. Anger is also the same. How anger arises? There are cause and conditions. So for anger to arise, now we don't get angry if we look in a white wall. If we have a white wall in front of us, to get angry with what? No way. How to get angry with a white wall? It will be stupid, no? So, but if we see something we dislike a lot, okay? So then that can be the cause for our anger to arise. So formally, while we are looking at the white wall, there was no anger. But if we look something else, we say something very we dislike so much, for example, some ugly thing, okay? Let's say the same flower, it has been rotten, okay? We have it in our room, we brought it in our room, we kept it for several days, and after some days, it gets rotten. So it gets repulsed, the smell is there, and it becomes so ugly. So we're going to get rid of it. So then we are some repulsive feelings towards a flower. So then this kind of repulsive feelings, repulsive thoughts arise, aversion towards a flower. So what we had before is desire, very desirable object with beauty. After it loses beauty, we don't want it anymore. So we want to get rid of it. So therefore now our thoughts arise according to conditions. And we encounter objects, and that's why we crave for them because of causal conditions. And we get repulsed because of them, because of causal conditions. So these thoughts do not come randomly. There are a certain chain reaction there. A chain reaction of cause and conditions, how they come. And then we have the effect. We have the fire like that appear in our mind, the fire of desire, fire of anger. So therefore, these things happen in a natural way. They are natural phenomena. Like natural phenomena, fire is a natural phenomenon, which are because of cause of conditions. Something similar happens in our mind. These thoughts are not stored anywhere in our mind. There is a box there, and you open the box, then desire comes. There is another box, we open, anger comes. There are no boxes there. That's called, which we store these desires and so forth. There are only conditions which make these things happen. Like a fire is not stored in the wood. Okay? If you would take the wood and cut it, there is no fire there. There is no way to find a fire. Or if you take two stones, that's called, you can't fire fire. But if you take two stones and crush them together and rub them together, you can see also there are certain stones that can produce fire, splinters of fire. So therefore now, these are conditioned phenomena. Some things happen in us, these splinters of thoughts or fire of thoughts and so forth, they come because of causal conditions. So that's why the Buddha speaks about paticca samuppada. I don't know whether you have heard about this. It is a law of dependent origination. Everything what originates in the world depends on something else. Depends on cause and conditions. It is the conditionality, the law of conditionality. Now in physics, we speak about the law of causality. According to scientists, everything is called, there is a cause and happens because of cause and effect. The cause and effect law, we tell. So nothing happens randomly. So that is fact in science, in physics, in chemistry, in biology, everything is a cause and effect. Okay, now the thing is, we in Buddhism also accept this causality. The Buddha never ever again spoke about this causality, but he spoke about conditionality also. All right? Because the cause itself is zero if there are no conditions around it to support it. I will give you one more gross example for you to understand. Let's say we have a seed, an apple of an apple. Now every day you might get apples in your house, maybe, I don't know. So, but oranges, all right, oranges. A seed of orange, if you like. You take a seed of orange, go to your garden, and you put it on the soil. And you wait to grow, all right? And to get maybe an orange sprout. So then, but you have to make sure there are certain suitable conditions in your garden on the soil for it to grow. Okay, there might be some good soil. So there might be, it's called humidity. So you have to water it. There might be sunlight, enough sunlight for it to grow. So it might be good temperature. If you put in the, it's called during the winter, it's not going to grow. The temperature must be moderate. So then you can see that this, if you put the proper conditions, ultimately after maybe 1 month, 2 months, then this seed is starting sprouting. You have got the sprout. This is the result. Now the seed is the cause. The sprout is the result. We have the cause and effect. Okay. But if the cause, which is a seed, does not meet the proper conditions, it's not going to grow. If you take this seed and put it upon a glass and you wait it to grow to become a sprout, there is no way. However much you put water in it, however much you put sunlight, temperature, proper temperature, it's not going to grow because it needs soil. So if the soil is missing, one condition is missing, this cause is zero by itself. It's not going to give any result. So therefore now in Buddhism, we speak not only about cause, we speak about surrounding conditions which support this cause to give results. In Buddhism, we speak about causality and conditionality. It's very important to understand. So everything is like that. In our mind also like that. We, as called, an object comes, which can be a cause for thoughts to arise. Okay, like a flower. But if there are no conditions, light and contrast of colors and symmetry and so forth, desire is not going to come. So, and it's not going to appear. Why? Because the conditions are not there to give the sprout for this desire to come up. So our mind is like a garden. It's like a garden. It gives sprouts if there are conditions there. It gives thoughts if there are conditions there. So it needs certain ingredients to come together in a suitable way. So then only you get the sprout, you get the results. You call the effect. So therefore, desire is effect. Our thoughts are effects of many conditions, cause and conditions of objects who come around us and so forth. This is a kind of mechanism. This mechanism occurs in nature. It occurs also in our mind. Our mind is part of a nature. That's why the Buddha tells us to observe the nature of the mind. He speaks about nature. What we do with Vipassana meditation, actually, we do physics. If we actually speak like that, we see the physics of our mind. So you can see the chemistry of our mind. So it is nothing metaphysical. It's everything physical with this. In physics, I call it. It's nothing, something, not philosophy like that. So by this observation is actually what also scientists do. They use the method of observation in order to understand phenomena. That's why the Buddha insisted on observation, anupassana. We speak about vipassana, but there is no vipassana without anupassana, which means observation. So therefore, the first step, it is anupassana. Passana is to see, anu means to see it again and again. An object to see it again and again. If we see an object again and again, means we observe it. This is observation. In English, we use the word observation, which means to repeat seeing something again and again. So then only we can penetrate the nature of an object. This is the method which scientists did and so forth in order whatever they want to discover. So to methodically, systematically observe an object again and again, how it behaves, it is natural form. If we try to manipulate the object, of course, we're not going to understand it. We're not going to understand its real nature. But we leave these things happen naturally. For our thoughts, leave them naturally. We don't try to change them. See them, observe them. What is the nature? So then I will be able to understand them. This is the method of observation and so forth in order to understand this natural phenomenon. So now regarding your second question, do we produce our thoughts or do we attract them? Now we have little control about our thoughts. A relative control, not an absolute control. Sometimes for example, if you observe these thoughts, many of the thoughts who come in our mind, we never ask them to come. They come. We never told them, stay with us. They stay. We never told them to go. They go. So what are these thoughts? How much we produce our thoughts? It is actually the mind has a mechanism by itself. It's like machine. It produces again and again thoughts. It discards other thoughts. So then, but what we do is actually sometimes we go get involved with this machine and we identify ourselves with this machine. This is me, myself. And so many times we get disappointed because these thoughts, they have their own nature. They go and without our permission, they go sometimes. So without our permission, they come. So they're just visitors, they come in the mind. We try to go along, they run after them. And sometimes you get disappointed. So you get frustrated and get anxiety and get afraid also because of these thoughts. So therefore now, and sometimes we contribute to produce this thought. Sometimes we contribute because sometimes we want thoughts to stay with us. we try to keep them with us and to cultivate them, to water them, to put some water and to make to make them last longer. But how long? So therefore now sometimes we have some relative control about thoughts, but not absolute. So now your third question, or are there several ways our thoughts come to us? Yes, I already told the ways. These are cause and conditions. So then, therefore now, this is causality and conditionality. If we understand natural phenomena, how they happen, something similar happens in our thoughts. It's nothing metaphysical, something which come from a god, from angels, or from demons like that. No. Everything is just natural phenomena. So the only thing we try to do is just to understand this law of causality and conditionality and how to overcome it, because we become so much dependent on that. We identify with this phenomena, we try to cling to them, and then we suffer also. So, and that's why the Buddha tells to become independent. So that is the way to see the impermanent nature, to see that they don't last for long. Even these cause and conditions, they don't last for long. They also cause and conditions, all they arise and fall. So then one more thing I want to tell you now regarding this rise and fall, what the Buddha tells, there are two kinds of rise and fall. Okay, two. It's mentioned in Satipatthana Sutta, but I have to tell from other suttas because that is where you can take all the information. Now, the first kind of rise and fall is momentary rise and fall. So every moment you can see that this phenomena rise and fall, thoughts rise and fall, feelings rise and fall, our breath, momentary rise and falls. So that is how one should start to see the momentary rise and fall. But after seeing this momentary rise and fall, one starts asking, why this phenomena rise and fall? Why? Why they don't stay? So then one starts seeing on the background, okay, what causes this phenomena to rise and fall? That is, then you can see the conditional rise and fall. Therefore, we have the momentary rise and fall. You can see the conditional rise and fall, that this phenomena arise because of conditions. Then you can see the conditionality of this phenomenon. So therefore now, but one can't see the background, the conditionality. One has to start with momentary concentration, momentary observation of this phenomena of rise and fall. Then that's why we teach here now the momentary part, to see them, how they rise and fall in the momentary rise and fall. Slowly, the meditator, if he can progress, see this again and happening, then naturally he starts seeing the conditions, why these thoughts arise. Now, for example, if desire arises in us, we mentally note desire, and then we go to the second part, see rise and fall. Again, rise and fall. And then sometimes we understand, why? Why desire rise and fall? Then you can see, okay, because I have seen this object, let's say flower. So that thought was the flower which triggered all this desire in me to come. Then understand that this desire did not come from the sky. Okay, did not fall from the sky. There was an object. There was a cause why this desire arose. Then you understand, okay, here it is a process. You can see the chain reaction. Then you can see there's a cause. Then you can see the conditions. So that because the flower was beautiful, it has this shape, this color. I liked it. And ultimately this desire came in me. So you can see this desire do not arise momentarily, it's called every moment, like accidentally, randomly like that. No. There are cause and conditions. So that's why he started observing this conditionality. But then if you observe this conditionality, you can see these conditions are also impermanent. They also rise and fall. So therefore now the object as called the desire itself is impermanent, but the conditions and the causes which cause this desire to arise, this is also impermanent. Then he gets actually he gives out this illusion from himself. that there is no way there is something permanent in us. And there is no way that I can identify myself with these things. There is a natural phenomenon which go on. There is just thought. As the Buddha is just a thought. It's not a being. It's not me. It's not myself. Then you can see mechanism. It's just a mechanism. You can see processes. Just a process. He does not identify himself from that. And that's why he does not cling with this thought, this is me, this is myself, this I am. All this thought disappear. So that's why he detaches his mind. This detachment gives him some independent, as called knowledge. To see these things as they really are, not as we imagine them to be. Okay, now this is somehow explanation regarding the mystery of our thoughts. So there are no more questions. Nobody raised their hand, but in the chat box, there is a question from James Parker. He says, this teaching is very close to Jittu Krishnamurti. What is your view of that? So then, Krishnamurti, of course, now, he, as far as I know, he claimed that he never thought a method. So he spoke about observation. Maybe he used some words like that, but in a very diffused way, not something concrete, how to do your observation. There is a method how to do that. So therefore, he used some terminology which, of course, it looks like Buddhist because he was very familiar with the Buddha's teaching, very familiar. So then, and he was impressed by his teaching of the Buddha, but he just borrowed certain terms which he uses in his discourses, his lectures, but he doesn't put any method. There is no system. This is what I heard from many people complaining. He is very good to expound things, to explain things, sometimes in a very abstract way. But if you go to the concrete one, then you get lost. There is no more there to start with, to starting something concrete to practice. So, and there is method to practice how to observe this phenomenon. So therefore, he's actually a philosopher. And this is the nature of philosophers. They try to talk about more abstract things and so forth. And people delight in abstract things. If you tell them to do something concrete, they get, now it is too much for me and so forth. So then, for example, to observe the feelings, to observe the thoughts in a very methodical way. No, so they just like to be more on the abstract rather than the concrete. The Buddha was not there. He was actually a philosopher, but he's a practical philosopher. Very practical. He's sharp to the point. He will just tell you, observe these things. He will tell you how to do that. So then, and see the nature of them. So you have to actually do it yourself. So, and these things are not things which is something outside ourselves, what he teaches. You can observe inside us. This happens every day with us, like our thoughts, our feelings, our body, and so forth. It's every day with us. We carry them like suitcase everywhere we go. So, but we never open the suitcase to see what is inside the suitcase. So now with this meditation, we try to open the suitcase. What is inside the suitcase we carry with us. So to see, as called, all the ingredients which are there and see the nature of them. So then only we're able to get rid of the suitcase which we carry so much, this burden we carry with us. These are the 5 aggregates the Buddha tells, the 5 khandhas. So we carry them every day with us. We identify with them, cling to them. That's why you call Panchu Padana Khandha, these 5 aggregates of clinging. So then, but now with this practice, it is a time to open the suitcase and see what are these khandhas are, these 5 aggregates, the body, the feelings, thoughts and so forth, and any other mental and material phenomena, how they operate. So, and to see the causality and conditionality of them, they see the whole mechanism of them. So therefore, something which Krishnamurti did not do. So he was very abstract. So then this is my view about that, but I'm relying from others. At least I occasionally heard some discourses of his, some lectures. So then, but it was a big contrast when what I read from the Buddha, the way he explained it, how concrete, how clear it was, and how Krishnamurti explained it. So now Sylvia asked the question, when I can read more about meditation. So now regarding Vipassana meditation, we can suggest one book you can actually read. This is called The Heart of Buddhist Meditation. Okay, if you can write down the title, so you can find it in the internet. So now this book actually is in PDF format, but it has a copyright. I have this book with me. It has a copyright. It's called, I can't, according to this copyright and so forth, we can't keep it because unfortunately the author was living in Sri Lanka. Okay, he has published this in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is what the former island which is called Ceylon. You might have the Ceylon tea. So that is Sri Lanka is an island, and that island, that country, so the law says that the copyright is 70 years after the author passes away. While in other countries it's 50 years, in that country they put it 70 years. So now the author is already passed away, but 70 years have not yet expired, so then did not pass. So therefore now it is still the copyright there, we can't give you the book. So the only option is you can go to the internet, you can write the title, is the word, The Heart of Buddhist Meditation. The author, it is Nyanaponika, if you can write it down. Then you can order it and you can read it regarding Vipassana meditation. Of course, any other kinds of meditations for the time being, I can't figure a book. If I figure, I don't know. So then I may somehow forward it to you. Okay. So now James Parker asks another question. What are the key differences and similarities with Zen, Zazen? So actually, I don't know. Zen, I know some things about Zen, but Zazen, I'm not familiar with that. So by accident, maybe I got some information, but I'm not familiar with that. So then, now, but I can tell you with Zen, it is actually, they also focus on abstract concepts. Abstract concepts. So even the breath, they contemplate it in a very abstract way. They use these quants, it's like a mantra, like phrases, very paradoxical meanings, and very abstract meanings, which you have to solve if you repeat them again. And they think, and you can get the answer of that paradoxical phrase, then you can become enlightened. So, and these things, of course, do not exist in Theravada Buddhism, the original authentic teaching of the Buddha. The Buddha never advises his disciples to get involved with his abstract concepts. So he's a practical philosopher. So every of his meditations, what he taught has to do with within our range of experience, what we can observe directly and not what would try to imagine. Imagination is no way of the Buddha's teaching. He was very against imagination, and he gives a whole discourse how imagination, because of imagination, people suffer and actually they are born again and again. So then, therefore now, imagination is not encouraged. Even this meditation, what we practice Vipassana meditation, we don't try to use our imagination. We try to observe what is there. It's called not try to imagine something which is not there. So in any other meditation like that, what we thought on Thursdays about Anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing meditation, we use words which are relevant to our experience. In metta meditation, we use words which are directly relevant to our experience, not something we imagine them to be. So that is somehow a difference between Theravada Buddhism and Zen. But between Zen and Zazen, I am not familiar with that. I can't answer that. Bas, there is another question from Bas. He asked the question, can you explain the definition of meditation? Now, the word meditation, it is actually from the Latin. It comes from the Latin language, which is used in English about meditation, which somehow it means to think deeply regarding an object. So if one, for example, thinks about an object, he doesn't meditate. But if he thinks deeply about it, then one gets a little bit more absorbed, and then we can tell meditate. So that is the meaning regarding meditation. You can check in your dictionaries, these English dictionaries. Maybe they find they will give better definition. But I just give you the general idea what meditation means. Now, regarding Buddhism, you use another word. The word is bhavana. Bhavana means development or mental development. Therefore, now meditation, it is a kind of mental development. We want to mentally develop ourselves with understanding. So in order to do so, we use the method of observation. So contemplation, to tell like that. So in order to develop our mental capacities to understand a certain phenomenon. So, and that's why we use the word mental development. So therefore, this is briefly what meditation means. Of course, now in Buddhism, there are two kinds of mental development. One is through samatha meditation, means through serenity meditation, just to calm down the mind by concentrating in a certain object. So because this calmness of the mind gives clarity in the mind. So any certain passions and so forth, they get reduced, the mind becomes more purified, and it gives clarity in the mind. That is a kind of development to bring clarity in the mind. If the mind is confused, it can't be developed, can't develop. If the mind becomes calm and very clear and so forth, clarity comes up, and then it can develop, can see things better than before. So with Vipassana, of course, it is called another, it is called meditation, is Vipassana, insight meditation, to understand the nature of this phenomena, the permanent of what. Therefore, we have to develop. It is a kind of mental development through observation. So then, okay, this is a brief answer regarding what definition of meditation is. So Clinton Rogers asked the question, what would you advise I should do to help apply a more disciplined meditation routine in a busy lifestyle? So then, yes, you have better write a program for yourself if you want to do so, especially early in the morning if you have time. So you have to determine a certain time which you have available time to it's called meditate, and try to stick with that. So then, so therefore you have to think what is most suitable time. You are free. There are no noises in your house, so you can meditate, and nobody is going to disturb you during meditation. So write it in a notebook. So and try to stick in that time. So keep an alarm clock. So the alarm can remind you when the time arrives for you to sit for meditation. So that is also the case with other times of the day, in the afternoon maybe, in the evening, whenever you are free, any other times of the day. Try to find a suitable time, and try to avoid watching TV or watching your internet and so forth, any other YouTube, whatever you do and so forth. Try to stick on your meditation, and keep an alarm clock. So, and then it will remind you to sit and meditate. So that is how you have to keep a program. Otherwise, the mind is not going to do anything like that. You have to discipline the mind, and give somehow a schedule. Keep a schedule in your daily routine.
Bante, I'm sorry to intervene. The time is 20 to 12 in Greece. So perhaps we can continue.
So, yes, we're going to conclude now. There is one small question from James. He says, would you recommend going on the 10-day meditation retreat by S.N. Goenka? Yes, you can try. So why not? Especially because you have this kind of problem with your chest, the pain of your chest. Goenka retreats, they emphasize a lot how to observe the feelings. So then, so you may succeed and so forth and overcome. Because that is, now the thing is, if you just practice alone at home, so you become more relaxed and so forth, take it easy. There is no pressure there to continue the practice. Sometimes you postpone to practice, but if you go in meditation retreat, so you have to actually to follow the program there. So, and then you become more energetic to practice more. That is how you can succeed and your meditation. So therefore, if you have a chance, yes, please, you can go. All right. Now there are no more questions. So then we're going to conclude today and continue next week, Thursday and Friday. For Thursday will be samatha meditation about mindfulness of breathing meditation, and also it's called metta meditation. And on Friday will be again Vipassana meditation. We're going to wish you so then to wish you good night, and keep and stay safe and healthy. So, and good progress for them who want to meditate and continue the meditation.
Yes, someone asked about the slides. This video is on Facebook. So after we conclude tonight, the video is there. So you can watch it as many times as you want. In our Facebook, it's on our Facebook page. Okay, so good night.
So good night for everybody.